Hello everyone, it's time once again for the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project. It is I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my sidekick, Austin the Day Ghost.
What's up? Well, this time I'm War Machine.
Oh yes, he's War Machine. Next time.
Next time I'm War Machine.
And
when we get to your preferred film.
my number one favorite Marvel movie of all time. I don't know if anybody even gets that joke whenever you bring it up. Like, you always bring that up.
It's a good running joke.
And when we get to Iron Man 2, you'll not only be War Machine, but you'll also be portrayed by a completely different host.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be John. And you'll be like, yes, it's I, Austin. Let's not talk about it. Let's move on.
John will walk in and just be like, yeah, it is what it is. I'm here. Let's not talk about it. That'd be a great gag. We should do that.
We should, yeah.
Put a pin in that. We should do that. And then if you happen to be here for the I've never done anything like that. Where, like, if you were here for the first commentary, you already know the practical joke we're gonna pull next time.
Yeah, exactly. Pulling up Disney Plus, because like one of the first things that came up was like, oh, you just watched Iron Man. On Disney Plus is
I'm sorry, Austin. Hold on. People can't hear you.
Oh.
I'm really sorry about that. I don't know if people heard anything you said up until this point.
Oh, beautiful.
We had some technical issues at the start, and I did not have the audio set up right. Also, I'm not seeing any new comments coming in, so hopefully people can see and hear us right now. If you are watching at the moment, and it does say we do have an audience, leave a comment just so that we know that you're watching. We had some really weird technical issues, and that's why we're starting so late, so apologies there. But anyway, God, a part of me wishes we could just start over. But yeah, so I don't know where we want to go back to. The joke is I love Iron Man 2 more than anything else, and John is going to replace Austin as himself, and we're just going to not talk about it when we do Iron Man 2. That should catch you up. Now start your story, Austin.
Robert said that my audio only dropped for a second, so that's even weirder.
Well, that probably means I mean, inside baseball, but that probably means that he could pick you up in my mic.
Oh, maybe.
And so now it's actually set up right where he's getting your direct audio, but that's good. That means that at least people can, the quality would have been piss poor, but people at least would have been able to hear it. So that's good.
That's usual for me.
Oh, Jared says he heard everything Austin said about Disney Plus. Okay, wonderful. I'm ready to move on, perfect. And you can tell your story now.
No, I was just going to say, on Disney Plus, the Iron Man 2 description is Tony Stark forges new alliances to confront powerful enemies. I don't think that counts as new alliances. It's just his best friend puts on an Iron Man suit.
Yeah, like, it's not like he allies with Hammer.
No, I mean, I guess you could count Black Widow, but they're not I don't know, that's dubious at best.
Well, and also that's a single alliance. You can't say new alliances. There have to be at least two at that point. And he's only outs with Pepper most of the movie, and that wouldn't be a new alliance either.
Yeah. At least powerful enemies is kind of true, even though I wouldn't call Hammer powerful.
He's powerful in his way. I mean, he's got
dance moves.
Well, he's got weapons, but they don't work. Like it should say ostensibly powerful, right? Like,
Yeah, but then you have to be like one ostensibly powerful, one just powerful enemy,
that's true. And then it
one
gets
enemy that should have died in the first
then it
act.
gets really convoluted, and they only like to write like 12-word synopses. If only I could go back and rewrite all of the synopses. Like they have worse copy than Marvel has for their new comic synopses each week. And that stuff's
At least,
rough. Disney Plus is worse. Like it's Disney Plus is notorious for this.
at least it's not like Iron Man continues, because it could have been.
Well, tonight we're going to tackle Iron Man from 2008. I am just holding my flimsy cardboard sleeve because my copy of this movie comes out of the big suitcase box, which is cool, but I am regretting getting rid of all of the movies that came with that box, my original releases, just because it is nice to have more than just the cardboard sleeve. And I don't want to pull that giant box out every time I do one of these, Austin.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm also not convinced that all of the features that were on some of those discs are included on these Blu-rays. I'm not sure. I got to go back and look. But like, I watched a featurette today that was on YouTube that I didn't find readily on this disc. I didn't look super hard. Maybe it's there and I missed it. But I think that actually might be missing. So I may have to go back and rebuy those
like
discs at some point. I don't know.
there is like a special features disc on that thing. Is it maybe a case where some of it just gets split off onto that?
Oh, I haven't even looked at that disc. You're right. Yeah, and
It could be. I don't know. It might not be.
And I meant to take a look at that for any material about this movie for this, but I ended up watching that big 2-hour, I said featurette, it's like a full-on documentary that chronicles the beginning all the way through the end of production, and it's incredibly well made. I really recommend that. I wish every movie I cared about had that.
Yeah, and I mean, I probably watched that years ago, but it's been a long time.
It's treated with the reverence. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it's treated with the reverence of like an original trilogy Star Wars film, like, but also not like polishing its own hat too hard. You know what I mean? Like it's not protesting too much or anything. It just like all the people that are making it obviously are. Like really love what they're doing, but they're humble and they're not sure if it's going to work out, and they're treating it as a real grassroots thing instead of obviously the well-oiled machine that MCU will be later on. And it's like it's refreshing to go back and look at that, and it's also depressing because that's not the attitude anymore.
No, for sure. No, and I wanted to go back and watch the comic documentary on that Blu-ray.
I did
but
that too.
I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, it's great.
'Cause I used to watch that a lot.
There's a couple things I might bring up about that as we go that I'm sure will come to me. But yeah, we actually prepped for this more like a week ago because we were supposed to do this last Friday as we usually do, and then we ended up moving our schedule around, and we reviewed something else last Friday. So bear with us tonight. We'll do our best. But I did watch that documentary today, but the movie I watched like a week ago. I know this film pretty well, though. We've seen this a lot. We've talked about this a lot on the channel.
Yeah, I think I got to like the second act rewatching it today, and I was like, I could have just easily done this without rewatching it, but like, obviously I was gonna do it, but it was just like I've seen this so many times, like I know it so like back and forth.
I really appreciate that. I want to always make sure that we've got a recent viewing under our belts because you can always have a somewhat different experience, and things will hit you, will come to you that didn't before, even if you've seen the movie 35 times. Iron Man, I actually had one big thing that I mentioned to you off camera, but I'll talk about it some as we watch the movie. That just a comparison I had never made before that I'll get into that I kind of want to. If I could find the time, I'd love to write a like 10 or 15 minute scripted video about. And I may try to do that at some point.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it while watching it and wasn't really picking up on it as much as you were, so I'm like, I definitely want to hear more about it.
You're just going to be like, no, you're stretching. You're making this up.
I don't know. I mean, because you just said these two things are similar. You didn't really go into it, so I'm like,
yeah, I didn't.
I
give
don't
you
know
a
exactly
ton.
what it's gonna be.
Well, and I kept like every couple of scenes stuff was hitting me with it. And I'll bring up some of it as we go, but at some point I might actually do a more complete video on it because I didn't write it all out because I think I would have just ended up making a video if I had done that. I also wanted to say this is our 52nd commentary for the Rewind project, and so naturally we're not doing a DC thing.
Yeah, well, I thought of doing the 52nd DC film ever made until I realized it was Joker, which we've already done, and that would have been lame anyways.
Yeah. Even if we hadn't done that, I don't know that we would have done that.
Yeah.
It's interesting you were able to come up with that information, though. The 52nd ever DC movie.
Yeah, well, I was surprised it's something so recent,
That's true.
but I guess that's true.
Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Get your DVD or Blu-ray, however you're going to watch it, past all the menus to timestamp 0, or if you're going to watch it on Disney+, there may be an ad before the film, and then you should just be right at the Paramount logo at the beginning, because this is back when some of these were distributed by Paramount.
Yeah, Paramount does from this, obviously, up to Iron Man 3.
Oh, that's right. I forgot it did the whole first phase.
Well, yeah, and the first of the second.
I guess the start of the second, yeah.
Yeah, because I think just part of that is just Disney gets the rights, but like they're probably still already contracted with Paramount, so it probably took a little bit to run through that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's Iron Man. We all know this movie. Austin, anything else you want to mention real quick before we actually start watching the film?
No, I'm feeling good. Ready to watch some Iron Man.
Okay. Austin, I was going to say this earlier. I'm always excited to watch these with you, whether it's a thing that we agree on or not. But this particular movie, it's really nice having you here because you're kind of our resident Iron Man expert, like the closest that we have to one. Like you know the comics and this character way better than I do.
Closest to, like, there will be things that people know more than I do, like, because I've read in order. So, like, I haven't gotten to, like, Fraction and stuff yet, which is, like, a big...
So you stop somewhere.
Obviously, like, important...
You know some
run.
things about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know elements of it, but, no, it's, like, one of the only characters I've just, like, read straight through. It's weird, I don't know.
Yeah, I've never done that with anything, really, besides, like, Spawn.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. Here we go. Everybody get ready to press play when I say now. I'm just about to do it. You'll have the clock there on the screen. And quick plug, real quick before we start, for Patreon, in case you want to get a review in for the end of the show, because you've still got time to do that. Patreon.com/Geekvolution. The $5 tier lets you put in a 2 to 3 sentence mini review for us. And the $10 tier also makes you a Patreon producer that gets you some extra perks. And I'll read your name at the end of the show. So let's go ahead and do it. Here we go. Everybody, please press play right now. So, Austin, one of the big impressions I have with this coming back, having not looked at this in a little while, and just thinking about the overall history of superhero movies, and that big long history set of streams you and I did, is we always talk about this and Dark Knight being the start of a new era where everything changes. This is so much more of a gap bridger than Dark Knight is, of course. Part of that's because that's a sequel. But this movie is not just the start of the second big onslaught of Marvel movies, but it's the end of the last one. Like, it feels as much like that whole era finally refined to me as it does this kind of more quaint, like simpler times, like kind of pure superhero piece that I miss from the start of what a lot of us think of as the Renaissance. It's really interesting. Like, if you look at it from the perspective of the 2000s with Spider-Man, Daredevil, the X-Men movies, etc., this feels like that all perfected finally in my mind, at least in some ways, and that it feels like this quaint start to a new thing.
Interesting. I've never had that before. Like, I've always had the, like, it feels like a weird, like, and now we're doing something different, and then Incredible Hulk kind of feels like a weird midpoint. But
Well, that's true
I've
too.
never really had it with this.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a different experience with it this time, and that was a big thing that hit me. And I think some of it was because of some of the usual suspects that are working on this movie, that like Feige, like Avi Arad, who had worked on a lot of those movies that were a little bit schlockier, didn't always come together the best, had maybe some really good ideas at the core, but at the end of the day were a little bit more cookie cutter and formulaic. And while this is certainly subverting some expectations and going against the grain in certain ways, like I said, this time around it felt like some of that finally handled the best way it had ever been handled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, a thing I've kind of come to, like, for me, is that this is Marvel's equivalent to Donner's Superman. Is kind of how I feel about it, where, like, it just kind of comes in and is like, yep, Iron Man is real, we're going to make it as believable in this world. And it has that same 3-act structure, of course. And yeah, like, it's always just kind of felt more like a modern equivalent of that, especially whenever we try to do modern Donner, we really just do modern Lester and go, look, it's silly because Donner was kind of silly, and it's like, okay, but it wasn't really then.
No, you're right, and this isn't throwback at all.
No, it's just that kind of idea modernized.
Yeah, this is much more of like how do you take that comic material and handle it the way a modern character-driven action movie would? Because again, it's not a straight up schlocky action movie that's real formulaic. There are like kind of some tropes, and there's a recognizable structure, but it's not. I don't know, like, it's got a lot of reverence for the source material and it's comic booky enough, but it's not trying to be ultra stylized. And but that's also where I say I feel like it's finding that midpoint. It's figuring out that balance in a way that Daredevil didn't quite manage. That I think even Spider-Man in certain places didn't quite manage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And then the other thing too is this is also, of course, very post 9/11, which we talked about in one of our history videos.
Yeah, our history videos, yeah. No, very post 9/11, and that's the big thing that this and Dark Knight have in common, coming out that same year, is that they're both extremely post 9/11.
Mm-hmm. And in different ways.
Yeah, of course. So I always had the Superman thing, but you know, of course, in being the consummate superhero origin story, and in, to your point, Austin, trying to bring it to a standard audience that's not already interested in this stuff. And it's important to note that that worked for like superhero movie fans and just regular audiences alike with this, because even a lot of superhero people didn't know that much about Iron Man when this comes out. That was not a huge mainstream character outside of comics. And when I was growing up, Iron Man wasn't even, or didn't even at least feel like a big character by himself in comics. Like, he didn't have runs people were paying that close of attention to. And so he would show up in things, and he was like a team player, and he mattered. But what's interesting is, and what I forgot about until I looked at that comic documentary, is in the comics, at this time, when this movie comes out, the whole Marvel Comics universe is kind of built around him. Like, he is hugely important during this period with Extremis and with Civil War and all of that. And so if you're reading comics right then, he actually is the gigantic, important A-list character Batman is, or Superman is. But the general audience wouldn't have that, and comic readers wouldn't if they hadn't picked up a book in 10 years.
No, and I mean, it probably also hurts that he got his own cartoon in the 90s like everyone did, and it's a team show. And he's like the lamest person on his team.
Because of course he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and he shows up in Spider-Man and he's lame. Like, it's really rough.
Real quick before we get back to that, because we're not really talking about what's happening on screen right now, but I always liked the foreshadowing of Obadiah Stane as the big villain who's got this evil ambition and wants to take over the company with one of the magazine covers.
He's standing over with the world.
It's great.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
And they still manage to surprise people with it. I love it when that works out. It is kind of the Ra's al Ghul thing where you should have called it, but a lot of us didn't. I have always had a quibble with the reveal with, not to get too ahead of myself, but with the leader of the Ten Rings guy in the cave in the third act, because it feels like a double reveal. I almost wish we hadn't had the revelation that Obadiah Stane did the injunction right before that, because at the point where we then reveal, oh yeah, and he also was responsible for Tony getting kidnapped in the first place, and he was actually trying to get him killed, like, I remember even in the theater, it not playing for me the way I felt like it thought it did. Where, like, it actually makes total sense on paper, where you'd be like, you're peeling it back even farther, where it's like, he's not just taking advantage of this situation, it's actually this big conspiracy, and he set all of it in motion in the first place, but somehow he's already been acting kind of evil when he gets in Tony's ear and he says picture time, and he's like, I'm the one that did the injunction against you, and then it's only like 5 minutes later that you get that scene with the guy in the Middle East, and you're like, somehow it's just not as surprising as it should come off at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could still have it just because, like, he could just be, you know, the Tony Stark threat, and then that stuff could still come back as the Iron Man threat.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense on paper, but somehow it never played for me.
Yeah. That's just because Jeff Bridges is evil.
I just hate that because it should work. Like, I want that to play. It's one of the only story structure issues I have with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the content is not a problem. Although, let me ask you about this, just since we're here.
Yeah.
I'm jumping around, but this was the thing I wanted to ask you about. That laugh always got me. When they fall off the bed and he laughs maniacally like the Joker. Like, that always cracks me up. My audience thinking that was funny in the theater. But when he... Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
You had a question for me that you were going to ask. I don't know if it was something about that scene or if it was about the Obadiah Stane thing.
No, it was about the Obadiah Stane thing. Oh, yeah, okay. So, let me ask you if I've got this straight, because and I had this viewing, I hadn't really thought about this much before. I wondered for a minute if there's not kind of a why now question about Obadiah Stane trying to kill him when he kills him, or when he tries to kill him, where it's like, you've been with this company for all of these years and you're only just now setting this conspiracy thing in motion. Do you think there's a real tangible reason in the story that's made clear enough as to why exactly he's doing it now? Like, is it just the Jericho missile, or is it that you've got this particular war happening when it's happening, and so he knows he can get them to go after Tony? Like,
no, I mean, I think that's what the Golden Goose line is supposed to be, like, the answer for, is just that, you know, Tony's like this prodigy, and even he can't deny that. But he still wants to take over the company. So it is like a question of like, do I do it? Like, he's still producing stuff for the company that's good.
Well, that's still
so kinda... I do think there's an element to that.
Okay, but that still kind of asks the why now question. I mean, is he thinking like, okay, he's put together the Jericho missile, that might be the last big important thing he does? Because he doesn't do it because he's miniaturized the arc reactor, because he does that in the cave after Stain puts him there.
Yeah. No, it's like the Jericho's kind of like the last big golden egg.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. I guess I'm wondering if the story couldn't be... And again, this is literally like the only major issue I have with this movie, if it's even a major issue, which is kind of why I'm coming to it now. But do you think the story could have been just as effective if Obadiah Stane just used this out as an opportunity, if he was just an opportunist, as opposed to getting him kidnapped in the first place? Because, like, I like the plot point that he doesn't let the 10 Rings know exactly what he's trying to do, because like they don't even know who they're killing or who they're kidnapping, and so like they get opportunistic when it's like, oh, we have Tony Stark now, and so then they try to get him to make the missile. So like I like that part of it, but I kind of wonder if the story couldn't have been just as effective if their plot all along was kidnap him to get the missile made, and then Obadiah comes back with, oh, like, I can steal the arc reactor, and also, if I don't try to kill him, he's going to stop making weapons for the company. Because on first viewing, through a lot of the movie, you think that's his motivation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes it harder for, like, how he would get the suit, like, to make his own by the end. You maybe have to get, like, more convoluted with that.
Well, he could just come back to the 10 Rings and offer them something. Like, he wouldn't necessarily have to have ever dealt with them before.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm not sure how he would know they had that suit.
Or be able to, like, find them, or why they would, like, be willing to work with them.
That's true. Motivation-wise, though, I think it would work just as well.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it's fine how it is. Like, I don't think there's really any issue with that. They kind of take the place of his... he's like a chess-themed villain in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of replace that.
Yeah, again, the only kind of quibble I have with it is it does seem maybe a little easy that it happens when it happens. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I don't really have any issues with that. I think it's fine. What's his face? Terrence Howard, I've always really liked in this film, and it's like this weird case where, like, I think I like Don Cheadle more, but I like Rhodey's role in this more.
I do too. I wish I could see the alternate universe where he keeps going, and just how he would play it in the rest of the films, and how his part might have been written differently with that actor.
Yeah, because I can't even really picture him as War Machine in those other movies.
One thing I noticed in this scene that I hadn't thought about before, Austin, is I like that Tony Stark says... first of all, I think this is some of Downey's best and most fun line delivery in the whole movie, and it was brilliant that they advertised it on it. Like that, this is how the first trailer opens, and I just love how sarcastic he is. I prefer the weapon. You only have to fire once. In that documentary, you get to see a lot of alternate line readings, which is really cool when they've got like a camera on set when they're showing you like the first or second attempt at a scene, and there's all these places where they're delivering lines not like as refined and figured out as they are later. It's really interesting, and I'm glad this was the take they used, because it's much better than another take I saw. But anyway, I think it's really interesting that he says, when you have an excuse, because he's saying again, the weapon you only have to fire once. When he says, find an excuse to fire one of these off, like he knows how nations operate, and he on one side has kind of a if I don't know about it, it's not happening sort of attitude where he doesn't really care, or at least he like kind of likes not knowing what exactly is happening with his weapons, but he's also not naive enough to not know how underhanded some of that ends up being. And so like I like the realism of that. And especially at this time just after Iraq and all of that, that you would actually have him say, look for an excuse to fire this off.
Yeah, and they won't even be able to come out of their caves. It's very
That too.
like, oh, we are in a very specific place.
Yeah, we know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, he's like a used car salesman for weapons, for death.
Yeah, until we meet Hammer, and then we realize there's more of a used car salesman.
Yeah, you're right. He's the used car salesman. Tony is the new car salesman.
He's the new car salesman, that's it.
He's the new car salesman, you're right.
But he has a real ignorance is bliss attitude, which of course is the point. And then he goes into his crucible, and this becomes very traditional hero's journey where he has to like descend all the way into hell to have a journey of self-discovery, find himself, come back, is the better man for it, and then bring what he's learned back home with him. It's just Odysseus, and one of the best versions of that, which is, I'll segue to say, one of the big reasons that I could not stop thinking about Batman Begins the whole time watching this one, and that was the big comparison I kept making. And one of the big reasons is because they both have that. That in the first act, your main character goes through that kind of, and for totally different reasons, that kind of crucible. You come away from the world, you descend into hell, and you come back better for it, and then that becomes the start of the superhero origin. And then the next thing that happens is you're trying to figure out what your motif is going to be and how you put your tech together and how it all works. And I think there's a really interesting comparison, contrast paper to be written about the different motivations with those characters. Like, I think they're kind of perfect companion pieces the more I'm thinking about it. We always compare Iron Man and Dark Knight for obvious reasons, but I actually think Begins is the more apt comparison, partly because they're both really good origin movies where we're actually telling a story through how the hero becomes, or how the character becomes the hero, as opposed to just sitting around for 2 hours and then telling the real story next time, like with an X-Men, or ostensibly like with the Fantastic Four, except somehow that second movie is worse.
Well, because Iron Man, going all the way back, his origin is one of those that is just a Twilight Zone episode, and like there is a story there in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the funniest things to me.
Yeah, that's true. In Begins, they had to kind of craft it, but it's interesting how oddly close the story they crafted for Begins starts like Iron Man, kind of. Like, he obviously doesn't get kidnapped to go there, but they're both lost in a similar way, where like they have to figure out who they are and what they're about through being taken away from the world, and they're also presumed dead. And then they both come back, and everyone's like, "Oh, great, you're alive!" Like there's odd similarities between them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I have more as we go. This will keep coming back.
This guy here that runs the camp, I guess you can call this a camp. This complex. This fat guy. In the comic, he kind of is a character from like the original origin, where he was Wang Chu, because that was of course in Vietnam, and in that story he makes every prisoner like sumo wrestle him, and like whoever can beat him in a sumo wrestling match can leave, and that's why Tony builds the suit. He's like, I need to build the suit so I can sumo wrestle Wang Chu. And that's fantastic.
This is a good revision. This is a good revision.
It is a good revision, but I love that there just is an equivalent of him that I can go, oh, that's Wang Chu.
That's really funny. I've never actually sat down and read that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've obviously seen the
Yeah,
famous
it's really
panels,
good.
but I've never looked at it cover to cover.
I've always been fascinated because the end of that issue kind of implies that he's just going to walk around like stuck in the suit. And I've always been kind of fascinated at what Iron Man looks like if that were the case.
With This It Begins, you also have a kind of mentor character with both of them that obviously end up in totally different places because one of them will turn out to be your villain of the whole piece with Begins, and the other one will die in sacrifice so that Tony Stark can survive. But in odd ways, Yinsen and Ducard both kind of help him like find himself.
When Yinsen's like your classic Marvel origin character, like your Uncle Ben or your Ancient One or like whoever it is that's going to be there to guide the hero.
Yeah, and of course, we talked about this when we did First Avenger, but Captain America has exactly that stand-in character in that movie.
Yep. Yeah, it's true too.
And so those are
Yeah, and I
intentionally
remember...
companion pieces in a lot of ways like that.
Mm-hmm. No, and I remember the first time seeing this being really surprised by like the reveal that his family's dead. I thought that was really effective.
That's excellent. And also feels like a thing that you should sort of be able to call. Like when he says, I'll see them when I leave here. And it really rides that line where it's right there, but I don't think most of us immediately get what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well,
because he's also
such...
positive enough that he could just be naive enough to think he's going to get out of this.
Mm-hmm. No, and he and Downey have such great chemistry.
Yeah.
They work off each other so well.
No, he's amazing, and for as little screen time as he gets, he's incredibly memorable.
Yeah. No, the two people that Downey has the most chemistry with in this movie are Yinsen and Dummy, the robot arm. Those are the two you're like, oh man, I need just more of this.
And obviously, he and Paltrow have plenty of sexual tension and like that.
Oh yeah, no, they're really great together. Yeah.
But you're right. He might have more with the dummy robot. I'm with you there.
I mean, he's got chemistry with everyone in this movie.
Yeah,
but those are the top two.
They are. Favreau was really lucky to be able to assemble the cast that he had, and that everybody was able to roll with Downey with the improvisation, because that could have been a disaster.
Yeah, one. Like Paltrow's always, like I always thought that was kind of like a miracle because she's not the type of actress that I could see working well with that kind of environment.
Yeah,
and well, especially now, like she's kind of a crazy person.
She says that in that. Yeah, she says that in that documentary that like before this she had mostly made like indie movies that nobody watched. Like that's how she puts it. And she comes into this, and the first scene she's in is that party scene. Like that's the first thing they shot with her, and she says she's glad that her character was supposed to be nervous in that scene because she was, and like didn't even know how to be in a movie like this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, and I don't think you can really tell.
No, I don't either.
Like she's an actress that I remember hearing a lot of people call like a nepo baby and like only in things because of that.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, so like the fact that she's as good in this as she is has always kind of amazed me.
Yeah, like crazy person or not, she clearly deserves to be here, at least from a performance standpoint.
And she at least remembers being in this movie.
Hey, in that documentary, she even remembered being in Sky Captain. I don't know if she remembers that now, but...
I don't even know what that is. Sky Captain?
Oh, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. Have you never seen that?
No.
It doesn't hold up as well as I wish it did, but that's a movie I loved back when it came out. That whole thing is a fascinating story, but that's like that came out in the late '90s, early 2000s, and it's a throwback to like 30s, 40s pulp sci-fi movies, and it's one of the first movies shot entirely on green screen.
Oh, weird.
Because it started as a short film that was shot that way, and then the guy that made it, he made the short film as kind of a proof of concept, and then he actually got a studio to back it, and he made it a full film, and it's got an all-star cast.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that's how Sin City kind of starts. Like, they film that first scene.
Yeah.
And then they use that to, like, pitch it to people. At least the actors, I don't know.
They also talk a lot in that documentary about how this movie is approached, besides all the visual effects and just how grand of a piece it has to be, of course, how, like, as they're shooting it, it's approached more like a, like independent film. And how they're kind of molding and crafting it as they go. We talk a lot about how it's miraculous this movie came together and the story is as tight as it is because so much of it is improvised. But I think, especially looking at that documentary, Austin, I think that has been overstated to some degree. Like, it is true that a lot of the dialogue in this movie is made up on the spot, but there is a clear plan when they come in for the overall structure of the movie and what the story will be. It's just that up until they started, it kept changing. So, like, the actual story itself is not really changing on set, like I always thought it was. But they went through a bazillion drafts, and even like for instance, when they cast Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane, they still thought the Mandarin was the villain, and that he was not gonna wear his Ironmonger suit until a second movie, if they got a second movie, and they told him that. And
I heard it was like a third one.
Yeah, the way I heard it was just a sequel. I don't know, but he says. He was really excited when he looked at the comics that he would get to be in a big suit. And that was part of the reason he wanted to do it. And then Favreau breaks it to him, no, you're not going to get to do that. And he's like, oh, that sucks. Oh, well. And then all of a sudden, when the filming starts, he goes, no, psych, you actually get to do that now. And he was like, yay!
You've upgraded your script!
But yeah, it went through a million permutations, and I remember Austin going through the 2000s from like 04 or 05, even maybe a year or two before that, just waiting around to hear when this thing was actually going to start and be in pre-production, because we heard about it forever. It's like, they're making Iron Man, it's supposed to happen, and it's really interesting looking back at that period, and I think part of the reason that I have the perspective I have of it now is being the culmination of that era, because it sounded like it might come out around when Elektra did, and then like when Ghost Rider did, and we kept waiting for the thing, and so nobody knew
in hell since the 90s.
Nobody knew it would be nobody knew it would be the start of the MCU. We kept thinking of it as just another one of those. It's a Hulk, it's an X-Men, it's a Spider-Man. Like, it was just going to be another one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, I know Stan Lee, like, for a long time talked about, like, you know, people would say, like, are you going to make an Avengers movie? And he was like, you got to make, like, the individual movies first. But I'm not entirely sure. Like, maybe that is just a thing where they started making this and started whispering that into his ear and being like, yeah, you got to say that.
Well, and one of the reasons it's so impressive what happened with the MCU in general, and this goes without saying, is just how huge this character instantly became when, again, it wasn't already a Batman or a Spider-Man to general audiences. And we give Gunn a lot of credit for turning the Guardians into a big A-list mainstream property, but I think sometimes we forget, or we just don't talk enough about the fact that we did that in the first place with Iron Man. And it sets the tone for all of it, and if you'd started with anybody else, it wouldn't have worked out the same way. It might have still worked, it just would have looked very different. And I also think it's fortuitous that we began with Iron Man and not with a Captain America or a Thor or something, Austin, because this is a much more appropriate starting place if you want to try to handle Marvel as more or less the world we live in, and it happens to be populated by superheroes like Stan Lee tried to do, where like you start with the much more flawed kind of cynical guy that has to find his compassion and his selflessness and his heroism, as opposed to starting with the guy that has all of that already. I mean, it's kind of the difference between starting Golden Age Marvel and Silver Age Marvel.
When also just, being able to tap into a specific period like this, because this movie is, very much, we're making it right now, and then none of the other MCU films have it to the same degree.
No, they don't.
We, immediately kind of lose that. But, if this comes out, let's say we start with Thor or Captain America, if this comes
Winter
out,
Soldier gets closer with its ideas, but not even so much what the world looks like or its tone or whatever.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of like, oh, we're doing drone stuff. Here's some drone stuff in the movie.
Yeah, sure.
But
I just mean with how
like
topical the freedom security stuff is. Like, that was a very, right there, what everybody's talking about, kind of.
Yeah, but what was I going to say with that? Yeah, if this comes out like 3 or 4 years later, I don't think it would have hit as hard.
No, it was a real time and place thing, and that's also why the whole thing comes together and becomes the juggernaut it does. Like, I don't know that this could have worked out at any other time.
Yeah, exactly. They hit it at like the exact right spot.
Let me read a couple super chats real quick. Joel Davis says, $2 super chat, Iron Man is getting closer to being as old as 89. Well, that's not physically possible. Because one of these movies was made in 89, which would make it 35 years old.
Because 89 continues to get older.
I'm sorry, what?
That's true. Because 89 continues to get older.
It does.
Like, it's not just...
Yeah.
But maybe he means like...
I'm not sure what he means by that.
From when 89 was to when you started, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in that
Maybe.
would... I'm trying to think if that would even be true. Because I start in 09, 89, that would have been 20 years, so yeah. If that's what he's saying.
It's getting there. It's only 4 years away.
Yeah, well, if his point was to donate $2 and we appreciate it, to call me old, that's fine. That's fine. I'll own that.
I love, with this first Iron Man suit, just how stripped down it is.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
It's so perfect. I think they do a really good job of adapting early Iron Man suit changes, where you have this suit, and then he wears this for a little bit until he changes it to be gold, and then obviously he gets the smaller red and gold suit, and we kind of adapt that all. We adapt like the first 5 Iron Man costumes into 3, and I think that's really effective in this movie.
Well, one of the big things that later MCU is missing, and we made this point 100 times, so this is an obvious thing to say at this point, Austin, is reverence for the source material and actually adapting and paying attention to comics. And one of the other really impressive balancing acts with this is you have the kind of nerdy fanboy thing driving this of what's cool about Iron Man is the technology. Is all of the different suits and making us believe that they can function, and it never loses sight of the character or telling a story while it does that. And it would be so easy to get mired in that, like Ghostbusters 2016 or something, where it forgets it's telling a story and it just is like, all the tech is cool, and it feels like the people that made this movie, and Favreau talks about this a little bit in that documentary. There's not a director commentary for this, by the way. This is the only MCU movie that doesn't have one. I was looking for it. I thought it was missing on this thing. He never recorded one. He did one for 2. There's not one here, but luckily he talks a lot in that documentary, and so I was able to get some of his feelings as he's making it, which is nice too. But anyway, he talks there about how much he just loves the suits and the armor, and so you see all the reverence with that, but he's making sure that it's not just a throwaway action piece that's fun to look at all the technology. Like it all serves the story, just like the action has to.
Well, and this is a good action film that doesn't have a ton of action in it. But like what action is there is really good. Like we will go long stretches without any.
No, that's
and then
right.
when you get some, it'll be like short and quick until the third act, of course, and it's all very effective.
Well, and what I almost said, Austin, was unlike 2, it's always ramping up, whereas in that movie, its best action scene happens too early, and then the big climax is a little bit lackluster. Going back to this again, it doesn't have that. It's not a problem in this movie. I don't think the final action scene, like the big climax with Ironmonger, feels anticlimactic the way Iron Man 2 does. But it's not its best action scene. That is this stuff.
I think it's just different. Like I like the climax because it's so comic booky. Like I love when he's like picking up the motorcycle and hitting him with it. This is more of that,
all fun, but it's I'm not emotionally connected to it like I am with this stuff. Like this is thrilling and tense in a way that climax isn't. And you're right, they're serving different purposes, but that climax it feels, and maybe it has to with the kind of story it's telling, so I don't even think that this is a problem. It feels routine comparatively. And I think that's why
it's just raw.
I will call this a better scene than that scene.
Yeah. I mean, they're just different. They're, I think they'd serve their purpose as well. But I think it's really great that so up to this point, he's kind of just been punching people, like what you expect from a superhero. And then he gets there and he shoots the rocket, but he shoots it off kind of to the side, and then rocks fall on that guy. And then when he comes out of this cave and he like turns on the flamethrowers, it's such just like whoa, you're just kind of not like primed to see that kind of a thing. And I mean, you get things like that in it's like Batman Returns or something where he lights the guy on fire with the Batmobile. But it's just something different about just like how intentional it is here, where it's like, oh, we're in like a war zone.
Well, in Returns, it's gratuitous, where it's like we're not even supposed to think Batman killed that guy. That's just there because it looks cool. It's kind of that Snyder thing. And here, it feels different because it's raw and it's realistic, and it's a way that he can defend himself and escape. And it's also cool because it's a precursor to the repulsors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's really cool. So you're seeing an evolution of the tech as well. But it's like this, and then the scene later on when he comes in the Mark III in the Middle East, just hit so differently, like in a way that I don't think we've ever really recreated. Like even in First Avenger, you have the part where Cap throws the guy through the like the blades of like the kind of helicopter blades on the ship thing. Part of it's just because it's so like CGI, but like I don't think even that like hits as visceral as some of this stuff does.
Well, and I think that's one of the big things that gave it a lot of credibility for general audiences that wanted to see a thrilling action movie more than they wanted to see something based on comics.
Yeah,
that made it feel like a quote-unquote real movie. And like that's kind of in its way a bad word to me and you because we like comics and we like good comic adaptation, but I also can sympathize to some degree with general audiences with that. And I also have made the real movie point myself in places because I get tired of the formula. I get tired of all these things having to feel the same. And a lot of the ones that get outside of that, I've always said, are another genre first before they're just superhero. And so they know how to do both of those things at the same time. So this doesn't have to lose the comic book stuff in order to be a movie that is accessible to to a lot of audiences. And it's also a movie that's not trying too hard to be accessible, so it manages it just by telling a cool story and taking the right kinds of risks and hoping that people follow it.
Mhm.
And then they did.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause you're not wrong, like in terms of like the balance that this strikes between that, like being a real movie thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a big part of it is just, oh, they wanted to adapt Iron Man.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're adapting it,
Well,
and
and
it's not say
importantly,
something.
they're not just looking at old comics; they're looking at what was happening right then, and that's what Extremis and stuff around there was kind of trying to do.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so,
and it's being made by a director that like knows how to make a movie. Like that's kind of where it
yeah.
strikes the difference, you know?
But I'm saying part of
Uh,
adapting from like contemporary Iron Man comics would be trying to make it feel more realistic because that's what those were doing.
mhm. Yeah, no, for sure. But there's also just a ton of stuff they're looking at, even going all the way back,
Yeah, of course.
to Tales of Suspense.
But
So
I
it's
think
definitely just kind of looking at everything.
but I think tonally, especially, and I'm getting this partly from that comic documentary. They're
Mhm.
they're trying to get close to what the comics feel like right then, because and his name is not coming to me, but I believe somebody tell me if I'm wrong about this that the artist that drew Extremis did. Uh, did a lot of the preliminary art for this movie. And that's another thing we don't do anymore is they were actually working really closely with comic book people at this time. Unfortunately, some of them are the people that have ruined this whole thing at this point. I'm sorry, like Bravort is there at this point and like in the writers' room,
Well, was he part of the
as is Kasana,
Marvel?
as is Bendis, I think.
Yeah, because I know Quesada and Bendis were in the Marvel Creative Committee. I'm not sure about Braveheart. He might have been.
He's in
I
that
can't remember
documentary,
offhand.
and you see him
He
in
must have
that
been. I know
room with
Millar was.
yeah. There's this like meeting of minds they have that they film some of where they bring a bunch of comic people in to give suggestions about the script as they had it right then, and he's in that room, I think.
Okay, yeah. So he must just have been on the Creative Committee then.
I assume so. One of my favorite lines in this movie, and I can't explain why, is American cheeseburger. I just always love that as a choice, where it's like the first thing he wants is to go to get a cheeseburger when he gets back. That just it feels really real. Like you're in a cave for 3 months. What's the first thing you really want? Like creature comfort, right? But it also feels like a quirky character thing all at the same time. Like it's real and it's quirky.
And it's just an interesting way of getting in your product placement. Like it's a creative way of making that natural.
That's true. You only see the bag for a couple of seconds. Like they're not even making too hard of a deal out of it, which is nice. But
When it also
yeah,
is like it comes from Downey, I think too, like from when he was like on his drug addled side. I think he's come out and talked about how I think he was like on a yacht or something, and he had Burger King, and it made him sick, and that was kind
oh,
of like his
interesting.
realization moment. So like that was like I think maybe suggested by him.
Well, they talk in the documentary, to your point, about all of the prison life stuff that he brings to the cave scenes, where he's telling everybody on set, like when you're in prison, how you make coffee and stuff. Like it's really interesting, and
Oh, cool.
those scenes maybe play more believable and natural because he's drawing so much from personal experience.
Hmm. The inmates were like, "Make us coffee," and secretly he made an Iron Man suit.
He's like he took the role because he's like, oh, I've actually done exactly this. Like
Yeah, that's how I got out of prison.
I made this suit. I won't tell you how many people I set on fire with a flamethrower, but like I've been through all of this before.
How many people I burned with coffee that was spraying out of my machine.
So can I nitpick something
Go for it.
that comes from doing so much of your dialogue with improvisation, and it's amazing that there's not a lot of this, but this is a really tiny, minor thing. But it even bugged me the first time I saw this movie. And I'm sure he improvises the way he says it anyway, the cheeseburger line, because he says, "I want an American cheeseburger," and then before the scene closes, he says cheeseburger first. So they go get the cheeseburger, and then they come all the way here, and then they have this conference, and it's fun that he sits down and he eats it and everything, but that line would make you suggest that he's so hungry he's going to eat it on the way, and then he gets there and he hasn't eaten it yet, and it's weird.
Yeah, but then they can't show you the bag. They can't be like, look, it's Burger King.
That's right. But if you had just not said cheeseburger first, I would have never even thought of that. But he throws that in there.
Pick it up first.
Well, yeah, I know.
I just like the idea because Happy hands it to him, so Happy's just sitting there with the bag and didn't give it to him until they got out.
That's hilarious. Look, I told you it was a nitpick, okay?
Yeah.
Joel Davis gives us another super chat, $5. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. If Iron Man is post 9/11, then I think Superman 2025 is our first post 9/11.
I don't know. I feel like. Sorry, I just wasn't expecting that. No,
I wasn't either. I don't totally know what to do with it. Sorry.
Well, part of it is I don't fully know what exactly it means, but
yeah,
because I would say I feel like into the 2010s is kind of your post 9/11, where it's some of how we handled that post 9/11 stuff wasn't great. Let's kind of move away from that. I feel like that's more.
And also just sensibilities from creators that wouldn't have the same sensibilities and feelings about that because they weren't there or they were too young, right?
Yeah.
There'd be some of that. And then obviously Superman is being made by a guy that was an adult when that happened. So I can kind of sort of see what he's saying, but I also think that there's still a little bit of post 9/11 even in that movie.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's one of those things where once you're after it, you're forever after it.
Yeah, it's forever changed everything, right? So we started thinking a lot more about whether, and I don't want to talk too much about this because we got to get back to Iron Man, but we started thinking a lot more about whether Superman should go and meddle in foreign affairs after 9/11 than we ever did before that.
But then that's also something that goes so far back. That's just always been a thing with Superman. So it's do you do that in a movie because we're post 9/11, or is that just something you naturally get to?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. The Bravia originally, I think, appears in Superman #2, and it's him him stopping a civil war. I wish he started the Civil War. That'd be great.
In the second issue, Superman was really a different character back then. I get that he was supposed to be a crusader for the common man, but I don't know why he's starting wars.
Superman, stop going to other countries and starting wars.
Teddy put in a $10 super chat, and he wrote his own name 5 times. He says, the MCU is mocked a lot these days, and for good reason, but people forget how impressive it actually was that they even pulled it off, especially starting with Iron Man. Yeah, and Favreau talks in that documentary about how, and he's saying this in the moment before it's come out, about how he has no idea if it's gonna be a big movie or just barely perform, and that he could easily see it going either way. And he also mentions, importantly, that back then they don't do preview screenings at all. They don't have test audiences, because he says they're worried that too much is going to leak on the internet.
I think that's just a MCU thing. I feel like Marvel Studios has always been weird about test screenings.
I thought they did them now, though, because we hear so much they basically made the whole movie, and then all of a sudden they're doing all these reshoots and changing the third act, and I'm I don't know why that would happen if you didn't do test screenings.
I think that's just them looking over it and being meh, we don't really like this. We gotta change it. I think they only do test screenings in-house in Marvel Studios. There was another one from him before that too.
Oh, I missed it. Thanks. He says it's actually
Yeah, no
wild that
worries.
both this and Dark Knight came out the same year. Yeah, and of course we talk about that all the time. And it was just
Really
kind
only
of
like a couple months apart.
it was odd kismet, yeah, because that became like the summer of this is just the perception, the summer of the smarter superhero movies that are for more serious people. And then that sets the stage for a lot of what comes after it. And you know, obviously with MCU, but then you have a lot of movies that are trying to be either Iron Man or The Dark Knight. So like Green Lantern is just ripping this off, and then a million things are just ripping off Nolan and Dark Knight that aren't even superhero movies.
Something that's always bothered me here is was that magnet that she pulls out, the magnet that was stopping like pulling the shrapnel away, because she pulls it out and then they just don't replace it.
I actually was watching for that this time, and he tells her to connect something back up, or she's connecting something when she puts it back in. So I'm wondering if
like
somehow they replace it.
Well, so what it is that it's got like the plug, like it plugs back in, just
Right.
like the other one plugs out. But it had like the thing that connected to the magnet, and he's like, "Whatever you do, don't take the magnet out." But they don't put the magnet back in. That's always just kind of bothered me. It's not a big deal, but it's a weird moment.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what
And of
exactly
course-
that was. So you caught something I didn't, I guess. I don't know.
And of course, this heart thing didn't go anywhere. They never mention it again in this movie.
No, I've always loved this motif, and I like the way it wends its way through his arc throughout these movies. I have, I am looking closer and starting to get a little bit more critical about the way Avengers ends with the whole he won't make the sacrifice play, because you've suggested that he kind of does that here, and Yinsen's whole part of his arc is giving him that example even before Captain America can berate him for it. So I think you have a point there. I still am not convinced that he isn't. Let me see how I want to put this. That he's not like arrogant enough, or thinks that like he's invulnerable enough that by the end of the movie, when she says, "Oh, you're going to die," and he goes through with what he's doing anyway, that he doesn't have the Kirk thing where he just kind of doesn't believe in the no-win scenario and he thinks he's going to make it, especially after getting through the cave and all of that. That's not the reason that he does it, as opposed to he thinks he's making the sacrifice. But I'm not convinced either way right now. Like you've got me very conflicted on this point right now.
I think especially when you get to that really solemn moment between him and Pepper, and like all of that fades away, and it's like you're seeing really who this guy is, like post cave, where he's talking about, this is like a crusade that he has to go on now.
Yeah, he's got a reason for living at this point.
Yeah, I think especially like stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't buy this character. I do think he's regressed when we get to Avengers.
Well, I'm going to meet you part way and say I think the more I'm looking at it, there is something of a regression that happens there. But I am questioning how far you're going with the motivation at the end of this, with the idea that he's actually full on making the sacrifice play as opposed to just thinking he'll make it. That's where I'm not sure. But I do think that he's more humble about things by the end of this than he seems to be in Avengers, and that doesn't quite mesh. And like even with where he's at in Iron Man 2.
No, for sure. And I mean, I think just overall, this and probably Iron Man 3 are my favorite Downey performances as Iron Man. I think those are when he's shining the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not trying to fight with you, Austin. I just always had a real specific read on all of this, and you've dashed it. And so like now I've got to work backwards and really rethink the whole thing, because on
I mean,
paper
yeah.
he's got a really good, like very slow build arc in figuring out how to be the selfless hero, and he's constantly overcompensating where like he knows he's not good at that, and so he'll be kind of like all or nothing about stuff, and he'll go oh well, I made this huge mistake, and so now I've got to compensate with an even bigger mistake. And that's one of the things I like about this character is just like how deeply flawed and lacking in understanding about what humility looks like, but he's like really, really trying. And there is the problem of if he finds too much humility by the end of this movie, is there enough space for him to go? And so there might be a certain amount of regression that's impossible not to do if you're going to make 8 movies about him.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, when we get to Avengers, I've got a lot of complaints. That is a case where I'm going to be like, and this kind of sucks, and this kind of sucks. Overall, the movie's pretty good.
But like I'm trying to entertain what you're talking about because you've made like really compelling arguments about it, and it would be really easy for me to just stick to my guns because I've had such a specific read for a decade on all of this.
No, I mean that's very fair. When it's not something I had, right from the get go. It's something I've just kind of had rewatching these movies. I mean, sorry, some of that I have had. It's just become more of a thing, like as time's gone on, where I'm like, oh no, this is kind of worse than I thought it was. But yeah.
And no, Tony, the thing you're building was always a weapon from the beginning. Like it just is. Like there's so much application for killing people in everything it does. Like I know that's not what you're intending to use it for, but and then of course later you do use it for that. There's an ad lib that she has that they play in the documentary that I kind of wish was in the movie. They cut the scene before she can say it, where he says it's not a weapon, and then he says it's flight stabilizer, and then he shoots it, and he flies across the room, and then she says, "Well, you should be careful where you're pointing your flight whatever I just said, stabilizer," and I'm like, that's pretty fine. I wish that was in the movie.
See, I feel like that would have killed the bit. I mean, I haven't seen the clip, but I feel like it's funnier without that. But maybe I wouldn't have that if I saw it. But I do feel like that's more what they do now, where it's like you have the inherent joke, and then she comments on it. Like I feel like I like this better. But that's fair.
At what point when you first saw this movie did you think that Jeff Bridges was the bad guy?
Oh God, I don't remember.
Like, do you think you called any part of that? Because I think they do a really good job of making him seem, I don't know if I want to say ominous, but like his heart is clearly in a different place than Tony's is. But he seems like he's part of the ensemble where it's like. I don't want to say they have other red herrings, but they do a really good job of making everybody but Pepper in the same ignorance is bliss seeming place of like, we make weapons, that's what we do, the industrial complex is what it is, and we can either participate in it or we can all be broke, and
Yeah.
I really like Rhodey's part of that, where at the beginning of you would really expect Rhodey to totally accept Tony's decision to stop making weapons with the argument they have at the beginning about how he's not responsible about anything and he's all about himself. And then you realize how still kind of part of this whole web he is in, well, we make weapons, that's what we do. And like he's not fully honest about that either. And so it's interesting that he's a little further to Obadiah than you thought he was with that earlier scene where he's talking about responsibility. And I think that helps you buy Obadiah, is the point I'm trying to make.
Well, I feel like if you're just watching this and you don't know anything, you could easily think, sorry, if you only know like the very loosest of things.
Well, yeah, because I should say, I didn't know who Ironmonger was. I didn't know who Obadiah Stane was, and you might have already read that stuff when you came to this. And so you'd know that, well, eventually that guy's going to be a bad guy. And I'll say, I said ignorance is bliss earlier. I have that as a viewer sometimes, where it's nice to see some of these things based on stuff I've not read.
I didn't. This is like introduces me to Iron Man, so I didn't really know anything.
I couldn't remember
at the time.
With you. Yeah.
But no, I was just gonna say, I feel like it would be really easy to think, okay, well, the main villain is obviously going to be with that camp. Like they're going to come back because we've already established that guy's still around. So it's like, okay, well, obviously that guy's going to be the main villain. If you know anything about Iron Man, maybe you're thinking like, okay, he's going to be the Mandarin stand-in.
Yes.
But then also, you could easily look at Obadiah Stane and think, oh, he's like the boss guy in like Hellboy, where it's like he's going to be there and kind of like antagonistic, but overall, like you said, still part of the ensemble. So I think you could have that too.
Yeah, you're right. He could be an antagonist in a way without full on being the villain and trying to murder him with another Iron Man armor, where he could just be
the Tony antagonist.
He could just be the sort of, I mean, not exactly the Flash Thompson, but where you have the human antagonist in the actual comic supervillain, where you've got the. Because he ends up being both, right? Where he is the foil for Tony, and then when he puts on the armor, he's the evil Iron Man. So in being a foil for Tony, he's the darker version of Tony. He's the Tony if he didn't go through the cave. He's the Tony that might have even come out the cave still that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Where he really is just all about himself and not only doesn't care who his weapons are killing, but is perfectly fine supplying weapons to both sides of a conflict and all of that. Oh, that's what I meant to say toward the beginning, Austin, is I wondered if the conflict between whatever the two Middle East nations are is actually the catalyst that makes him go kill Tony, where if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have done it then. I wondered if that was the why now.
Yeah, I don't know, because it plays more like a terrorist group attacking as opposed to like another country invading. Like I think they're just that kind of a thing.
Well, he says something. You know me, I'm notoriously bad at picking up on plot points. He says something about Tony. Wait, are we providing weapons? Are we double dealing? He says that.
Yeah.
What does that mean if it's just terrorists?
Well, because they're still supplying weapons to terrorists.
Okay.
That would still be double dealing.
Well, I guess what I'm... okay, so even if it's not... Sorry, I'm missing something. Even if it's not, like, two sides of conflict and they're just terrorists, again, post 9/11, I guess that makes sense. If it's just terrorists, then is the idea that... sorry, I should have written this down, because I had this thought out earlier, and I'm struggling to remember what my thing was. Is maybe the idea... he's got to take out Tony before he figures that part of it out.
Just that he's working with the Ten Rings?
Yeah.
I don't think that ever really comes up, but part of it's just because Tony's so just kind of like not especially involved with that stuff, it seems like.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like the party guy. It's like he probably could have easily never picked up on that.
So you think it really is just Obadiah Stane is getting up enough in years that he's going, okay, we have enough inventions now. Like, I can take all of this at this point.
Yeah, like now is the time. Like I can take over this company fully. Yeah. But especially like with how like kind of out of it Tony is, like it's probably an easy point to be like, okay, he's kind of far gone. He's like an alcoholic, hanging out, like sleeping with women instead of doing stuff.
Well,
Like,
let me tell
now's
you
my
why.
time.
I'm sorry, what? I missed what
No,
you
I
just
was
said.
saying like, no, so like now's my time. Like he's busy doing all this party boy stuff.
Let me tell you why I'm maybe coming off a little bit daft about this. I'm going to admit to this because I'm notoriously bad at picking up on plot points sometimes. I either forgot or totally missed that Stain like set him up to get picked up by the terrorists in the first place. I completely forgot about that. And so this time around, I was going, okay, but why does he do that? Because I came into this, I think I must have remembered that at some point. Because again, that double beat always kind of bugged me. Because we already knew he was bad in some way. But I came back into this thinking that Obadiah just goes against him because he doesn't like that he doesn't want to make weapons anymore. And then he makes a big deal out of let's try to make the arc reactor thing work. And I guess retroactively that's all just trying to wring this out of him before he finally does kill him since he's back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with yeah, especially if it's he's trying to get the arc reactor working himself, but I guess like if need be, like he could try to get that out of Tony if he can't get it recreated himself, because he also starts recreating that later. Once we get the. And there is definitely, him being like, okay, like, you should give this over. Like when he gets back and he's first looking at it, he's trying to get him to, give up what he's working on.
He's driving a car that says Stark 4, and ironically, there will only be 3 of these. Just throwing that out there.
Don't remind me. Downey was talking for so long about, like, oh yeah, this is what we'll do for 4. Like, yeah, for Iron Man 4, and it just never happened.
And he would have likely had the only good one.
Yep.
Because we have a Thor 4 and a Cap 4 that are not just bad, but dreadful. Both of them.
Yep. Exactly. No, it would have been him actually doing it. Maybe Shane Black, maybe Mel Gibson, depending on when you asked him.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, real quick. After this won't take long. After watching that documentary, I am convinced that 40% of the reason Jeff Bridges wanted to be in this movie was so that he could shave his head. He makes
that is cool.
a weirdly big deal out of that. He's
it.
like, in my whole career, I never shaved my head, and I always kind of wanted to. And they gave me all these Iron Man comics, and I read them, and they were great. And Obadiah Stane is bald, and I was like, cool, I get to shave my head.
Obadiah Stane in the comics also has like a little diamond thing on his forehead. He should have been like, yes, I get to have this.
It's like anybody that gets to play an Osborn that's like, I get these cool cornrows.
Exactly. But no, what I was going to say with Obadiah Stane, I think it also was a much better choice that they went with him. I feel like the Mandarin, if they did do that, would have ended up being way more just kind of like your typical, like, we need a villain. I don't know, the Mandarin there.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie has such a relative feeling of realism that you either introduce magic early and it could kind of sour some of that, or you try to play him totally not magical and then it could be really lame. And of course, there were people that felt that way with Iron Man 3, but like they wouldn't have done it the way that did, where there's a fake Mandarin or whatever. They would have had a Mandarin, however they did it. And Favreau talks about it like, yeah, we decided it was smart just to not introduce the magic that early. And I don't think that's the Hollywooded thing of the audience can't handle supernatural stuff. Like, you can only have the one thing. Like, the Iron Man suit is already so wild and out there. I don't think it's that. I think it's that everything that's happening is is so like character driven and emotionally focused, and it feels like it's happening. That if you then throw magic in the mix, that might be a bridge too far. That might be too risky.
Well, I just think like you go through all of this stuff, and you wouldn't really naturally be able to have the Mandarin through a lot of the second act, where like he can interact with Tony and like kind of get involved with that stuff. So it's like they kind of have to go off in the middle and do their own things, and then come back for the third act. And I feel like that would just be kind of wonky.
Yeah, that's true. But it was weird in the theater seeing the Ten Rings symbol and them talking about that, and my knowing enough to know the Mandarin has 10 rings, and then seeing they have this this Middle Eastern leader guy, and going and like I don't know if you had this, but I was like, oh well, clearly that guy's the Mandarin, and he's secretly hiding his rings, and by the third act he'll show back up. Like I thought when Stain walks in and hits him with the paralyzer that he was gonna bust him out.
When he does have one ring, because that is like a thing across, at the very least, these first two. I don't know if it's in 3, I can't remember.
Oh, I forgot about that.
But every villain has one ring on a different finger. So like there is kind of like a weird ring motif with that with the villains.
There's a ring motif along with the heart motif.
Exactly.
This is proof that the Mandarin has 10
well,
rings.
And Tony's heart is a ring.
That's true. There's one arc reactor to rule them all. But I thought that maybe the idea was the 10 rings secretly have like 10 leaders that are spread secretly around the world. They all have a ring, and and maybe the rings even have powers, and then at some point there's like a real Mandarin that would bring all the rings together. Like I think they could have done something like that.
Well, I know Favreau talked about it, like, he had an idea for the Mandarin that would involve with a bunch of other villains, but I don't think he's ever really gotten into what his idea for that was.
Well, I'm just glad that they didn't go with one of the early scripts that I read about before I think even Marvel Studios was making this independently, which was the Mandarin. Because they talk about different villains, but I think this was another Mandarin thing, would be another corporate mogul that lived right next door, or that had, sorry, his, that had his, have you heard about this? that has his company building right next to Stark's company building? Yeah. And he burrows underground to go into Tony's building to steal all of his technology?
That's baffling.
I'm glad they didn't make that.
Well, I know, and Chewbacca's Lover mentioned it earlier on, that the Smallville writers wrote a draft where Tony's dad's the villain. I'm glad we didn't do that. That'd be awful.
Yeah, me too. Oh, that's another Batman Begins comparison, that they both end up being father-son stories. And that to some degree they're both about trying to live up to their dads, and retroactively it will feel like even a little bit more like that, just because both of their fathers were actually killed. With this, you don't really know that yet. But it's interesting in comparing them that they both have different relationships with their father. Because Tony's trying to live up to his legacy, but there's a lot of things about his dad he doesn't like. We'll get more of that in 2, of course. And with Bruce,
say, 2 is definitely more of that.
And in 2, he idolizes his father. Sorry, in Begins, Bruce idolizes his father, and is wanting to be, brave and heroic, like he kind of saw his dad, which is why it cuts him so hard when Ducard says it was his father's fault that he died. And then what's interesting is both of them kind of do different things with their family names. So Tony doesn't like his father as much, but he actually makes as good or a better name for himself because he or for his family name, because he ends up being the hero, and then he outs himself as Iron Man at the end. And in Begins, Bruce tarnishes his family name in order to be the hero. I'm telling you, there's a paper
Yeah.
in this.
Well, and I wouldn't call this like a father-son story. There is stuff about his dad in this
Well,
movie,
I
but
shouldn't
like
have
that
said
is
it like that.
more
Begins
too.
isn't exactly a father-son story either. I'm just saying that like they both kind of start there to some degree.
But I just mean like even compared to that, like it comes up a little bit in this one, but that is much more of Iron Man 2. Like there is stuff about his dad in this one. But it's not like to the same degree. Like we get a little bit of his feelings, and it's more just like I didn't really get to live up to his legacy, and like I didn't get to say goodbye to him, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's 1-to-1.
No, I know. I'm just saying like I just wouldn't have considered that in this movie.
Matthew Bass put in a $50 super chat.
Oh my god!
Thanks a ton, man. Really appreciate you, buddy. He says, the second beat with Obadiah worked for me because I thought he was just a sleazy corporate villain that would have been killed by the costume villain who is more of a physical threat, which is why it's a surprise when he kills the terrorist guy.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying earlier,
Yeah.
where when you first mentioned that was like you could still have like the Iron Man villain, and then he's the Tony Stark villain. So like I could still see, but I can also see where you're coming from. Where you're like, I can already tell he's the bad guy. Like, I can kind of see it both ways.
Yeah, it's hard.
I just don't remember how I felt.
It's so
been
hard
too
to
long.
articulate why that isn't as impactful to me as I feel like it ought to be. Because I don't mean to repeat myself, but again, on paper, that totally makes sense. But there's a part of me that wishes that I didn't already know it when he walks into that room.
We just know he's a bad guy once he is like, you can't have this pizza. But this action scene...
Hey, he gives him
like,
a piece and he
mind
offers
as a
him
kid.
2 pieces, okay?
That is true. No, this action scene blew my mind as a kid, where it was like, oh my god. Like,
Oh, yeah. I had that in the theater.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shocked by 2 things that are really subversive for this genre. One of them is, yeah, that like he would just show up here and take these guys out and take this into his own hands like that. Because again, Superman wouldn't and can't do this. Superman 4 notwithstanding.
He would
it's a
take
bad
our
idea to get rid of all
Wanshu
them.
here and put him on a cactus. He's not murdering this man.
Yeah, that's true. That came after this, but like that seemed like we were really pushing envelopes and creating something of a gray area for the superhero genre, because it would be really easy to turn him into a pacifist, right? It'd be really easy to go, he's not going to make weapons anymore. Now he's just going to be the benign superhero that goes around and shoots like rubber bullets or whatever. And he's going to blow up all of his weapons anywhere he can find them. And no, he's still a man of war. Like, he directs it in a different direction, and he doesn't want his weapons to be used without his knowing what for, or by anybody but him. I mean, in a way, he honestly could have gone, like, if it was a different kind of story, this character could go real scary if you think about it. The whole privatized world peace thing by 2, where it's like, the lesson I've learned is that only I should be allowed to use my extremely destructive weapons.
He's a mad scientist. But no, it's so impressive because the first act is so dark. And then we get so like slapsticky in the second act, and then like that stuff from Act 1 just like hits back really hard.
Yeah. Well, that's to your point about it being like Dawn of Superman. That's part of why it does have that quality to it. Is that there's at least at first a real different kind of tonal feeling between each of the 3 acts, although not as harsh as Superman. Part of that's because and one of the reasons that that Begins comparison came to me this time around is because your protagonist in the first act of Superman isn't even Superman himself. You don't even meet that character until the second act because it's all about Jor-El. And with this, and begins, you are with these guys from the beginning, and your first act is the guy lost wandering the wilderness, essentially. I don't remember why I started down that track, but anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not wrong. Like with Superman, obviously, like you said, Jor-El is, who we're following at the beginning. But it's more for me like the Superman thing.
Sorry,
go ahead.
But that's what I'm saying. But it does have that sense of like each act is a little bit tonally different, and then that's why it's kind of surprising, like you said, when we get back to the war stuff and the real visceral violence of that first act.
It helps it hit a little harder, and it's part of what I was saying in that first Iron Man scene is just that we had like a bunch of distance with no real action, and then that comes in, and it's really short, but it's very effective. Like it hits really hard.
Plus, GDX says it's easier to have action that kills, but I don't think that's the motivation behind this. There's nothing narratively easy about this to me because there are consequences for it. Like immediately when Tony decides to go take care of this himself and kills those guys in the Middle East, he's being chased by like our Air Force.
And it's also making a giant point of these terrorists were killing all of these people in this village. Iron Man comes in, kills them, is immediately attacked by the U.S. Military, who were in no way involved with this attack. So it's also like not easy in that way. Like it's also saying some stuff that could be controversial.
Yeah,
not that it really was at that point, but you know what I mean. Like it's also not being super easy with that either.
Do you just mean that like they're over there, so they should be handling this themselves, or?
Well, they were fully willing to let that happen with no issue, and then once somebody else stepped in, they immediately stepped in to stop that person that was stepping in. That's what I mean. Like it's like that kind of a thing. I don't know why Jon Favreau apparently loves Whiplash, but
yeah,
it's really funny to me that you get the Whiplash reference here, and then obviously Whiplash is the villain of the second one.
Actually, the villain we end up doing next. Yeah. I mean, he was just looking for cool references in case they didn't get to make any more, but it is weird that it's specifically Whiplash.
Well, yeah, because we don't really have a ton of that outside of this. So, like, it's just kind of interesting. Like, obviously you have, like, the 10 rings, but that feels so much more pointed. Like, we know if we do a sequel, we will eventually get to the Mandarin.
Well, and you get kind of subtle references to things that they're going to choose not to do, like at the end when Tony mentions that part of the cover story is supposed to be that Iron Man is his bodyguard, and he's like, oh, that's weird, I don't know why I would say that. And then when he outs himself as Iron Man at the end, we've just jumped already to the standard modern status quo of Iron Man as a public superhero, because they're more interested in doing that. And so they have some references to things. It's sort of like the in Thor the Don Blake thing, where it's like we're gonna reference it, but we're gonna actually do it.
Yeah. Well, I just meant like villains specifically, but we do reference that. I don't know if it's technically one, but I think also when he sees the Iron Man paper, I think he also says that his suit's mostly made out of a titanium alloy, so that might be a reference to Titanium Man. But I might be wrong about that.
Oh yeah,
it probably is.
That look on Stane's face there, I guess, should have given everything away.
Oh, actually,
we hang on it real hard. We're like, he looks very evil, right there.
You know how we actually know that Obadiah Stane is the villain?
He should have started eating pizza right after that. He's got like this really intense face. He's like, and then he just Starts eating pizza.
How we actually know that he's the villain is that his introduction is Tony calls him and he's naked in bed and accepted a video call.
That's true.
That's how you know he's evil.
That's a good point. Oh, this is when he shows up. So he's already had, sorry, because we're talking over this. He's already had the I'm the one that filed the injunction line. So we already know he's half evil.
Yeah, we at least know that he is an antagonist.
Austin,
to Tony.
I'm sorry. I think I wasted all of our time with this. It's because of one shot.
Oh, okay. What's that?
It's that he shows up and I'm not going to belabor this point, but he shows up and they have the door block his face for 3 seconds. That is, and then they close it, and they have like a sting in the score where it's like, duh, it's like this is the bad guy. That's why it never worked for me. If they just didn't have that, it's fine. That shot is so much more impactful if we have no obvious clue that he's been doing anything against Tony before. You could drop breadcrumbs, but you have him say the injunction line, and then you're going to have a big reveal that, like, who else is going to be behind that door? And, like, of that stature and with a bald head. Why did you shoot it like that? It's just that shot.
It's Pepper.
The rest of this is fine. I think it's just that moment. That's all I'm on about.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
No, fair enough.
Just don't do that. I'm officially done complaining about this now.
So this was the thing that Tony Stark built in a cave with a box of scraps.
With a box of scraps. I want to wear it, like really badly. He says,
I want one of my own.
I gotta get me one of those.
I need to upgrade this armor.
Tony's wishing that he never invented that thing.
I was laughing today when Obadiah does this to Tony, and he's like, it's too bad the government didn't approve us using this. And I was like, I feel like they would have. But that thing is disturbing.
It is disturbing, but the fact that it's not fatal makes you wonder why they wouldn't approve it, unless it had some kind of side effects that nobody's talking about. But yeah, I'm not sure why you wouldn't approve that for at least warfare. Like, you actually could save lives that way. You could just if you made a really big one and like your side had some kind of earplugs or something that would stop you from being affected by it, you could do whole missions without ever firing a shot or killing anybody.
When I was thinking, and I mean, it's dark, but like the kind of Guantanamo Bay thing, like that's probably how it would have been used.
Oh, sure.
But no, I mean, there's that too. Like, there's different ways.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, you'd use it as a torture device. No, that's fair.
But it is just disturbing.
I gotta be honest.
That's maybe a place where it's like a little too optimistic, but like that's fine. It's just more amusing than anything.
Yeah, I don't mean to come off too apologetic about this when I say this, but like I'm out of my depth and my element when we start talking about like foreign policy and warfare, and like it's been a thing that I've never given enough thought to, and that I have a real personal interest. It's a big blind spot for me, and so I can do my best.
I'm foreign, so
what's that?
So I'm foreign, so. But no, that's fair.
But you see what I'm saying? Some of those things, those implications don't immediately come to me, and I always worry when I'm trying to analyze this stuff that I'm missing bits of it.
Yeah. No, very true.
Because like I try, but I'm too apolitical for my own good.
Speaking of apolitical things, the
Iron Man suit up
on wires like that is really cool. Go ahead.
Say again.
No, I said the Iron Man suit on the wires like that is a really cool prop.
Oh, sure.
But what were you gonna say?
Oh, so minor quibble about the paralyzing device. It's odd that he knows that Obadiah knows exactly how long you'll be paralyzed for, given that he holds it down for a certain amount of time, and you would think that there would be some sort of equivalency where it's like, okay, it's almost like he's like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then he lets it go. It's like,
Yeah.
what happens if you hold it down for like 10 seconds? Is it any worse, or is it exactly the same? Could you turn it on, leave it buzzing, and then for like a really long time, and then it's still 15 seconds? Like, how does he know 15 minutes? How does he know 15 minutes? Can you make it happen for an hour? Like, how does that work?
My assumption was just no matter what, it's just after it stops ringing, it's 15 minutes. But I don't know.
Oh, okay. I mean, maybe so, but it's just weird how deliberate he is about how long he holds it.
Well, it's because he's like holding it to be like, look how cool this weapon I have is.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah, maybe so.
I do think some of that is just like, look how neat this thing is to the audience.
Yeah, he's being dramatic villain, and I shouldn't read too much
Yeah.
into it, but we've got half an hour, left. What else am I gonna do? Braden, is the weapon you're talking about Sonic based? Because those exist in real life for riot control. I don't think they would do exactly what this thing does, where it's like,
No, I wouldn't think so. It is definitely Sonic based because
yes, but this paralyzes you.
No, it's really disturbing.
Now, I don't know if the thing he's talking about, but it does seem like a thing rooted in real science. Like, that does seem like a thing that could exist. That never seemed. It seems a little comic booky, but not too far out of the realm of possibility. It's not
It's
the
like a James Bond gadget.
Yes. Well, what I was going to say is it's not the water vaporizer from Begins. Like, that thing seems impossible because of what it would do to the human body and, everything people have talked about.
There's so many questions you just can't ask about that, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a big conceit when it comes to that thing. Everybody talks about how grounded those movies are, but this, comparatively, is weirdly more so.
Well, because it is doing that Superman thing of Iron Man is the one fantastical thing.
That's true, which is
Everything
also
else is
why it's
pretty
probably
grounded.
good not to have the Mandarin yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I would just be worried that he would just end up being really just typical villain. And I like Obadiah Stane in this quite a bit.
No, I do too. I think he could maybe be a little bit more drawn, a little bit more complex of a character.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's fair.
I certainly like him as the other side of the coin, like the perfect foil for Tony. And I like that he's older and is ostensibly a father figure. That's one of the reasons that that the father of son thing is looming more for me than it is for you, is because this guy is supposed to kind of take that place, and then he takes complete advantage of it, and he becomes the evil father without kind of the evil father figure without Tony Stark's father actually being the villain, like you were talking about they considered doing. Howard Stark. Sorry, I was trying to remember his name.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize you were blanking on that. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I find this to be one of, if not the most tense scenes in the movie. I love the way it's shot. It's wonderful.
I love the shot of him in the background watching her leave. It's so just uncomfortable.
It is.
And you just look how evil he is.
It's awesome. And, like, he knows exactly what she just did.
Yeah.
Because he immediately rushes to the computer. And
I also love that he looks, he's just like, ah.
Yeah, it's great. And I said this on a video recently, but it's such a good reaction. Freaking Jeff Bridges, he's so good. But just the way he says puzzle has always stuck with me.
Oh, yeah.
I love it so much when he's like, can I have the paper? And just everything he's doing is really unnerving, and she's constantly wondering if he's figured her out, and he keeps her guessing all the time. He's like, did you have the paper? And it's like, oh, why are you asking that? Puzzle. And just, it's the most deliberate way you could possibly say that word.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the greatest memes in superhero movie history.
It's true.
the box of scraps. And then box of scraps guy comes back. Is he played by the same guy when he comes back in Far From Home?
Yep.
Which is interesting because this was a cameo from like one of the producers or something. I can't remember, but
No, it's the kid from Christmas Story.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, they talked about it like that guy was doing something else in the production, but they might have been talking about somebody else. I'm not sure.
Well, maybe he is. I don't know. But I just
Yeah,
know
I'm
that
not
like
sure.
he is the kid from A Christmas Story.
Yeah, and you know what? I knew
And
that at
then-
one time, but I forgot all about that. So anyway,
Well, I guess we kind of have like a. They came back later. Thanks. We also got Ezekiel Stain and Ironheart.
Slim Maker. Oh, you said a little bit more drawn, but I thought you said a little bit more Tron because of the
It's
actor.
Tron,
Yeah,
man.
it would have been nice if Obadiah Stane was more like Tron, and I don't mean like his character in Tron. I mean the character Tron.
Or just like the movie Tron, and he was
Should've
just
been more like that
boring and
movie.
nobody related to him.
The guy that did the effects for the closing credits talks about being partially inspired by a lot of 80s arcade games, including Tron. And he never makes the connection with Jeff Bridges, but I just think that's kind of interesting. That, like, he said
is
that, and
interesting.
it's in a movie with Bridges. I will say, if he was really evil, he would sit here and do his crossword puzzle in front of a paralyzed Tony Stark.
That would be awesome. I was gonna say, he's evil here too, because his eyes are like black, like how we've lit him. But that'd be great. He's just like, you don't mind if I do the puzzle, do you?
It's very impressive that he can turn those black eyes on and off like that. Yeah, that's great.
Impressive. My eyes are black now.
And yeah, obviously, I've talked about the heart motif ad nauseum. I don't have a whole lot more to add about that from other videos we've done about this, but I like the clear symbolism with Tony having to go back to the old arc reactor.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just Obadiah ripping his heart out.
Yes, of course.
And it sets up just a good, just like classic old school Iron Man setup that he only has so much energy. Like that's in like every
sure.
issue of old school Iron Man is like, oh no, like I have to get back to my office to plug myself back in, because back then he was like a wall plug in. It's a good ticking time bomb.
You know, it really is. Like, that adds more of a sense of urgency, because not only do you not know how long the suit's going to last, or do you know that it can't last for very long, but also this is the thing keeping him alive, and he had to replace it already, so, like, he's on borrowed time as much as the suit is, which adds to his becoming more heroic and finding his self-sacrificial nature, I suppose. I mean, he's also just trying to stay alive. But again, just that symbolism of, here's the proof he has a heart. He's putting his old one back in. This is the thing that's saved his life physically and has made his life worth living in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And who gives him the heart but the person he has the second most amount of chemistry with in the movie? Dummy.
Well, and this is maybe the obvious thing to do, but I like that the person that develops the whole heart motif is obviously going to be his love interest throughout these, and ultimately kind of his soulmate, but is also in this movie the only person that really gets what he's trying to do. Like for a second, I question going back to that line where we talked over the operation scene. I and it's odd that she doesn't know what operation is, but whatever.
Yeah, you would think it would be the reverse, where it's like, oh, he's kind of like, sheltered or whatever.
Yeah, but like I don't know, she didn't grow up in a multi-million billion dollar family or anything.
Like, I can believe Gwyneth Paltrow doesn't know what operation is. Maybe that's an improv.
Well, and I love
you ever play Operation? No.
And then I love that they made the Iron Man version of that game. Like, there's an Iron Man 2 Operation.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
That's pretty great. But anyway, I like that in that... Like, I question for a second, Austin, that in that scene, he says, you're the only person I have. Like, it's only you. It's always been you. And I'm like, well, you've got Rhodey. And then I think about it, and I go...
Rhodey's also like a military liaison. Like, it's like they're friends, but not to the same degree.
So I get that practically, but I'm thinking about it more in the grander, like, thematic and character sense, where what that scene is telling you is she's the only person he can really rely on, like, overall. And I'm thinking, does this track, like, character-wise, motivation-wise, and I'm like, well, it wouldn't, except Rhodey didn't believe in him when he decided to stop making weapons. Like, that ends up being really important.
And that's like one scene after, or maybe not like exactly one scene, but that's like right after you get that moment where Rhodey's like, "Oh, thank God! Like, you actually are making weapons again," and then kind of freaks out at him when Tony's like, "No, I'm not."
Well, and plus EX with Happy at this point, that's really just his driver. Like
he's basically just a cameo in this movie. Like, he's barely even a character.
Once we get to 3, he's a lot closer to another Pepper in that way, where he's not just hired help, but like he's trusted. Although
I think he becomes a character in 2. In this one, he's just a cameo.
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
But...
I'm thinking about 2 before I'm thinking. Yeah.
Well, because I remember seeing 2, and I was like, "Who's this guy? Like, why is he all of a sudden so important?" And then going back and be like, "Oh, like, I guess he technically is in the first movie."
It's so weird, and I don't mean to talk about this too much, but it's so weird in that documentary to see Favreau refer to Rhodey by name as Cheadle a lot, and say, if we get to make another one, I'm excited to see Cheadle be War Machine.
Oh, Howard.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. Terrence Howard, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, he refers to him by name, like instead of Rhodey a lot.
Yeah, that's funny.
And it is really odd that, like, I don't know if there's a lot of examples of this where you have a really specific setup for a big sequel thing for a character that doesn't really get their due in this, and then they're immediately replaced. Like, obviously we have a lot of recasting, but to have that shot where it's like, he's going to be War Machine, and then next movie it's a totally different actor.
Yeah, just move on. He's Rhodey.
And I like that because it doesn't feel too fan servicey. It works on both levels, where it's like, the fans know what War Machine is, and they're wanting probably some kind of reference to it. But then it's not just a reference. It's, if we make more movies, we're gonna get to that. And, like, I don't know, straight up saying "Next Time Baby" is maybe a little sequel baity, because it's like next time is the next movie or whatever. But I was always okay with it.
Yeah. No, it's like a trailer line that you can't put in the trailer.
Well, and something they pointed out in that documentary that I don't think I noticed before is they intentionally reference War Machine visually in the credit sequence.
They do.
Where, like, they show his shoulder cannon and stuff.
Well, I think it's weird. I think it's just like Iron Man, but with a shoulder cannon, and it's like, that's obviously not what he's going to look like next time. But yeah, they do reference War Machine.
And I don't understand why they couldn't have just made the helmet look a little bit different, because comic book War Machine has a real specific look. Like,
They probably just didn't know. They're probably like, don't commit to anything.
No, because
like...
the guy that did it is talking about having to go look at comic reference.
Mm-hmm. But it was probably he probably just looked at comics and went, oh, he's got like a canon. Like, okay.
How are we already this far into the third act, Austin?
I don't know, but now we're into some of my favorite stuff.
This movie blows by.
Well, I'm glad you continued that sentence. This movie blows.
No, it doesn't. But it blows by. It just shoots by.
Exactly.
I love this suit.
Collateral damage, Tony.
So one thing that's kind of great in that documentary too is they show Favreau in the editing room dealing with this scene specifically, and or like the scene right after, but it's Tony fighting Ironmonger, and there's a bunch of like ADR lines that were in a cut they were working on that was just too overblown and there was too much of it, and they were cutting it down, and some of the stuff he says is really funny.
As opposed to like right there where he just roars at Tony.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Like,
well, that sound specifically is in the pinball machine based on this in the second movie. It's great because so in the pinball machine, there's a thing that you do to trigger Iron Man or Ironmonger coming up from the floor, which is pretty cool. And then you have to keep shooting Ironmonger to try to get a multi-ball, and it's just this big figure that you have to keep pelting with balls, and it's cool because it will magnetize them and like stick them in the middle of the table and then like spin them around and then throw them back at you. It's really cool, but it uses a bunch of impressive. It uses a bunch of the
you upgraded your armor.
A bunch of the sounds from this section, and so when he comes up from the ground, it sounds like an operatic singer, and he goes, "Ah!" It's great. Well, he does that too, but there's this specific sound where he sounds like he's almost singing opera. I forgot where it is, but it's in the movie.
This is death noise.
And I also never really thought too much or appreciated the theme and the soundtrack for this movie, because I think it's kind of in the background and sort of slight, and it's just kind of, it always read like just generic rock music to me. But I've heard it now so much from that pinball machine, because I've been playing that a lot lately at the pinball place I go to. Like, now I appreciate it and like it more, just because I keep hearing it. It's like, it's with me now. No, Nicholas Bono. The movie does not blow. That's not what I was saying.
This movie blows.
Slipmaker, you've magnetized your pinballs.
Wait a minute. So, Cap, you watched this and then you went, this movie blows! And then you watched the sequel and you went, you've upgraded your sequel!
You've upgraded your sequel! Yeah, Robert, I don't know.
I get it now, I get it.
I don't know what I was doing with that voice. That was the voice. Oh, what do you think of the payoff for the icing problem?
Oh, it's good.
It's pretty good.
I like it more than 2, where it just more straight up is don't cross the streams. Well, here it's that kind of a thing, but done more effectively.
Yeah, well, and in 2, the why didn't you lead with that joke is funny, but it's also just a lame explanation.
Oh, I'm not talking about that.
No, I know you're not. I'm just... It's alright.
I'm not talking about that, like the laser thing. I'm talking about when they do the repulsor blast into each other.
No, I know, but I'm adding to your point and saying another problem I have with that scene and why this works. But I'm saying that is a, like, it is kind of a payoff thing. It's like, you get there and they go through that whole scene, and then he's like, why didn't you just lead with that? It's a funny joke, but then it's like an explanation for why they didn't just take care of all that in the first place when they easily could have. I don't know, it's a little clunkier than what we're doing here is all I'm saying.
I mean, those are 2 different moments, though. He does the lasers to kill the drones, and then they use what I'm talking about, where they use the repulsors, where they bounce off each other. That's how they kill Whiplash.
No, I'm aware, I know that. I'm just saying that both of those are issues in that scene to me.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just didn't understand the correlation. Okay.
I'm saying that whole third act is not as good as this third act.
No, that is true. No, you can tell that they were like reworking the third act like after the fact.
And I also like the way that Tony does, like, kind of dumb, impulsive things that he's later able to take advantage of. Where he's like, in the moment, it was a really dumb idea to try to fly to space, but I guess I'm glad I did that, because now I can take out the bad guy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of setting that up earlier. I also really like the moment where he takes the glove off and then, he comes back and then he tries to use it and he doesn't have the hand anymore.
Oh, yeah, sure.
No, and I feel like, Pepper being the one to do all this too is also kind of set up by the operations scene as well.
Oh, that's a good
and I think
point.
that's a good kind of natural setup.
And another thing that was relatively new and subversive, although it's not like we'd never done anything like this, I guess, is that she's like actually involved in the climax and has agency and helps him and does things and is kind of a sidekick and doesn't get kidnapped, because it would be so easy for him to just kidnap her. Like, he thinks he's got a killer and he almost tries to do that, but he doesn't like kidnap her. If Sam Raimi made this, like, he's holding her the entire time.
Yeah. When Pepper gets to kill 2 out of the 3 main Iron Man villains, like she gets to kill Ironmonger.
That's true.
And the Mandarin.
Her also knowing that's the yell. It's when he gets hit there. So in the
it is his death noise. I was right.
Yeah, that's what it is. So when the figure comes up with the pinball machine, you just hear him go ah, which doesn't make any sense because he's just arrived. So his entrance is his death noise.
He's arriving to hell.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just gonna say, her knowing his secret identity almost immediately after he has one was real new and different by this point. And we'll start doing that more often by Amazing Spider-Man and stuff, but that in the theater also.
To the point where we've kind of gone too far, I think, where we always do this now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, we gotta get some more secret identity stuff back in. We've subverted it too much.
And we set the precedent with this for the whole MCU, where we don't have secret identities. By having him out himself at the end. And it didn't have to be a precedent where we do that with everybody, because it was perfect for this story. And partly because he's so impulsive. Like, I like that this was another comparison I wanted to make with Begins. I like that Tony never loses his arrogance. He's just trying to figure out how to direct it. So he discovers some humility in himself, but he also still continues to be pretty self-centered. That's just who he is. He doesn't know how to not be that way. And it would, again, like if he just suddenly became a pacifist, it would be too easy and you wouldn't believe him if all of a sudden he was, did a complete 180 when he came back and he didn't still have like room to grow. But that's also like the quirky, interesting, fun thing about him. And part of that is just being like so rich and disconnected from everything that he's going to have that. So this movie is exploring how he positively can direct his arrogance and his self-centeredness in the same way that Begins is exploring fear and the positive things you can do with that.
Oh, okay.
That's another thing that made me think of the both of them, is that it's weirdly a meditation on uh, arrogance and narcissism.
Hmm.
In
For sure.
in the way that begins as a meditation on fear, and obviously they're really different sorts of things, but they're both personality defects, right? Like they're both mental issues.
Hmm.
Not just fear as an idea, but phobia. The Batman has a
Yeah,
phobia.
specifically what it is. Yeah, with him. Very true. Arrogance, Pepper. It's time my enemies face my arrogance.
Why Iron, Master Stark?
Because it's cool when it's hot rod red.
It's also interesting in comparing those two movies that by the end of Begins, the love interest there says, "Ooh, now that I know you're Batman, I don't think I can be with you." And here, it's the thing that's bringing them closer together.
And it's interesting that they're not really a couple by the end of this movie.
No,
Like
they're not.
But
But
it's very much a tease.
yeah, they're hinting at a future with it. That's why that last scene with them has to have him saying, do you remember that night?" Like he's getting romantic, and she's in a fun, clever way, kind of shutting it down.
And it's just a good callback because it's an easy thing to forget. It's like, oh, he did just kind of leave her.
Matthew Bay says, "Yeah, it does play like Tony is making the sacrifice play in this scene." He's talking about when that actually happens from a while ago, because I forgot to read that comment.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and this ending too works so well for this movie. It does make me sad because we do lose a little bit of some of the fun from the comics not having his identity, but it also is just such a dynamic ending that I wouldn't change.
Yeah, like I know we talk about balance a lot, but like you gotta find that balance between what you're doing for a potential overall franchise and what's right for the story you're telling. And that's just what he would do there. That feels like such a character driven written moment where I could see whoever's penning that not even coming to that until they're in that scene and they write it. You know, I can see that not even being the plan. And it's like, what would he do here? That's what he would do there. And I like that he's so his own man and so arrogant that he's never going to stick to the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and also,
no, I like that too.
And also, he's the opposite of Obadiah, so he's not good at being not transparent. Like that guy's got all these secrets and he's conspiracies, and Tony doesn't know how to not just wear everything on his sleeve.
To the point where Obadiah's death was going to be a crazy conspiracy.
Right.
The complete cover-up, yeah.
And I think when he goes up to the podium, he's planning on going along with it. And then in that moment, he's like, "This isn't me." And that moment is so about identity that's kind of great too. Like, this isn't me. This is who I am, and he says who he is. And then some of that, and then some of that is also fantasy wish fulfillment stuff, where he's been talking about how much he kind of likes the idea of being a hero. Like he's playing it kind of coy, like, "Oh, I'm not the hero type," but like he's liking the adulation. He sees the word Iron Man, or the name Iron Man on the paper, and he's like, "Ooh, that's kind of good." And like this is a brand that I can run with. And I don't mean that he's suddenly taking advantage of the public at the end. I mean he just can't help but make it like a big public moment for him.
Yeah, exactly. No, and a thing that we didn't really talk about at all with the Shield thing.
Right. Yeah, I meant to bring that up.
But I think it's cool that, I mean, Coulson's just Jasper Sitwell in the comics, kind of.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I get. So like I think that's kind of cool that you have that element, at least in these first two, because you'd lose it in 3. But
Which is funny because later you're gonna have a Sitwell, but it's a different character. I don't even think that's his first name. It's weird.
no, I think it is Jasper Sitwell,
Is it?
but he's also like he's like a name only because this character is more like Sitwell.
Well, and Sitwell will turn out to be Hydra.
Yeah, no, that too. That too. I mean, comic Sitwell did try to date Madame Mask, so you do have that, I guess.
And Austin just really wanted him to be right off the page. That just didn't sit well with Austin.
Oh, it made me so angry. I was like, why wasn't it Rick Jones that united the Avengers, not Coulson?
Just it didn't sit well with him.
Everybody knows that the Avengers can only form because Rick Jones is calling the FF to help him with the Hulk, and then the Avengers all individually show up and then form a team. That's the only way that can happen. We all know this.
There's so much stuff with this that you never could have predicted. You know, obviously just the trajectory of the MCU, good and bad. You know, where it got to 10 years from there, where it is now. But weird stuff, of course, like you got Coulson that's just the stand-in for Shield, so we can set up that idea, and then he's gonna be like the big catalyst death in Avengers, and then get his own 6-season TV show. That's very strange. You never could have guessed that.
Especially because Shield in this movie is not what it is in the MCU.
No, not at all.
Even there's a line earlier with him that made me kind of laugh, where she's like, "Oh," or Coulson goes to Pepper and he's like, "We need to meet," and she's like, "Oh, no, we met with the Department of Defense," and he's like, "No, we're more specific." And I'm like, in what way is Shield more specific? It's just kind of nebulous secret agents.
Yeah, they sort of play it like I don't even know what they think they mean there, because like it
Probably
can't
just
be
like super people.
super people stuff, because that doesn't have anything to do with what's happening in this movie at all.
But like maybe because he like built like a suit, so they're like, oh, I have no idea.
Yeah,
but like, would they know that? Probably not. No, I have no
because
idea.
he shows up before there's even an Iron Man armor, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. So yeah, they wouldn't even know that. Well,
Yeah,
they
no.
know that they are in a comic book world and that he is going to be a superhero, Cap.
Well, they can't even come up with an acronym for their obvious name that you would only come up with because you had the acronym SHIELD.
And it's been a while since I've seen it, but in Ant-Man, I feel like they call themselves SHIELD in that opening. But
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure you get that in Peggy Carter.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, so I didn't even think of that. But yeah,
I don't care if it's technically canon or not. It's weird.
they didn't say the strategic, but every single time.
Every single time? I don't think so.
She's like, I hope we come up with a name in my lifetime. If only there was an easy way to shorten this.
Tyler, maybe they took special interest in Tony because he's the son of one of their founders.
Maybe? Like, retroactively?
Yeah, because they don't even know that yet.
No. I mean, I guess maybe they could have been thinking that. So that is like an easy world building place. And we do mention that Howard Stark worked on the Manhattan Project.
Yeah. Other things you couldn't guess that we would eventually get to with this, we spend a whole movie watching a man try to invent a flying robot suit he can get into and have renewable power, which is very impressive. But that man eventually will go on to invent time travel.
Yeah, well, it's crazy, when you think about it. It's like in this movie we see him like like tinkering on his suit, working on it, adding new details. Versus just, I've invented time travel. Could Tony in this film do that? Maybe.
I just thought it up. I
Haven't thought of it yet.
Okay, so I gotta tell you about this. I watched this last week with my son Freddie, who today is his birthday, by the way. He just turned 11, and Freddie did not remember this movie. I'm sure he saw it at some point, but he didn't remember it. And so it was fun watching him react to everything. Like, not only he hadn't seen this movie, but he'd never seen the MCU, like anything in the MCU. Because we watched the after credit scene, and he says Avenger Initiative, and Freddie's like, what?
They're making an Avengers movie?
I was like, Freddie, you watched Infinity War like 2 months ago.
Freddie, Downey's been cast as Doctor Doom in the 5th Avengers movie.
The Doctor Doom thing is something I wanted to talk about.
Well, before we do that, can I just say...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. The alternate version of that scene that they put on the that big Infinity box set is awful.
Yeah.
It's really bad. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
He's like vaguely referencing other heroes, but not by name.
He goes, Tony, we live in a world of radioactive spiders and mutants. It's like, what?
Yeah, I mean, there's something kind of corny about the way it plays already, but it's not that bad. Where he's like,
not that corny.
It's not corny, obviously, compared to Stan Lee. Like, I guess I shouldn't complain that he comes in and drops the word superhero.
Mm-hmm.
But for this movie, it does seem a little bit corny, I guess.
I feel like it's maybe worse retroactively because there's really only been 2 superhero, 3, I guess, before this. Like, it does feel more like what Iron Man was originally, where it's just he's the new introduced hero in this like established world.
Yeah,
because it does kind of play more like that with his speech, but
and like retroactively they connect Nick Fury to Captain Marvel so super hard that it's like she has to.
Well, she was the one of the 3 I was thinking of.
I know, but I'm just saying that then she has to be like the token one, so you could look at that scene and be like, oh, he's dealt with them before,
Mm-hmm. That's kind of awkward.
Oh, it's really awkward.
Yeah, sorry, not even kind of. Last time I worked with a superhero, I lost an eye.
Oh, God. We called her the Avenger. That's why this is the Avenger Initiative.
I met a cat that ate people.
It was real weird.
I saw things with my 2 eyes.
We went into space. They had a pinball machine.
I met green people. You were in a cave.
With a box of scraps.
I was in space with a bunch of green men.
In that comic documentary that's on the disc, which is maybe one of the last of those that they made, remember back when we cared about the source material? Remember back when not only could you bring comics to set, but like you were supposed to know where this stuff came from?
I feel like it's been a while since I've looked at them, but I don't even know if Thor and Captain America had documentaries like that.
Yeah, I don't think they did. That's another thing that
I feel like Iron Man was like maybe the last.
Yeah, and this isn't about the piece at all, so this is some of just the experience I had going back and researching it this week, but I kind of hyper-focused on the end of that 2000s era because even the release on the disc felt more like one of those releases than when you get into MCU and you get into the Marvel Renaissance or whatever. And just the way all the producers are talking about it and everything, like they've been doing this for several years. And Avi Arad comes on and he's like, "We've done Spider-Man and we've done X-Men and we've done all of this, but I've always hoped that we could get to Iron Man and Iron Man special because everything we've done is superpowered and this one isn't." And he's talking about it, and all of them, like we're several years into this thing, not at the start of something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean in that way, but that's part of just like you never really know like what's gonna light that match, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
no, this is something different, but like everybody else that's working on it has been working on the stuff, so it's like to them they're like, I was just making another one, but like accidentally crafted it.
Yeah, and another reason that I don't mean to keep hammering this point, but it was just a thing that I really had this time around. Another reason it felt like the culmination of all of that is because they were finally a lot freer in making it the way they wanted to make it because there weren't studio mandates. Because it was made much more like an independent movie, and so the studio was the comic based studio, like it was just Marvel, and so there were all of these mandates, and they talk about that in that documentary, and they talk about it like they were very frustrated before and now they're not, and then sadly Marvel just turns into another one of those, particularly under Disney. And so it's really refreshing going back and looking at them, having kind of the marionette strings cut, because they're talking about things like, well, when you're under like a Paramount or Universal or whatever it is, you have, or a Fox, especially, and you're trying to cast these things. I forget if it's Feige or who brings this up, but one of them says they give you a list of like a short list of names they're hoping that you'll cast from. And we didn't have that. We went to Downey because we thought he was that character. And they, a studio would have fought them really hard on Downey.
Yeah, 100% they would have. They'd be like, get Hugh Jackman. Or Wesley Snipes. One of those two.
But briefly, I wanted to talk about the Doctor Doom casting for a second. I don't want to say that I've seen this in a new light and now I get it or anything. Because that's not the point I'm going to make. But there's a thing I'd never thought of before that comes up oddly it's very ironic, in that comic documentary that's on the disc. I can't remember who it is because they talked to a bunch of writers and artists that worked on Iron Man, but somebody in that talks about how, in his opinion, I wish I wrote it down. I cannot remember who it was that talks about this. It could have been Romita Jr., but I don't think it was. I'm trying to remember who it was. Somebody says, Iron Man and Doctor Doom don't meet that often, but to him, Doctor Doom feels like the perfect foil for Iron Man and should be like the big Iron Man villain. And they talk about that for like 3 minutes. And it's just really interesting.
The and Layden thing is they try to kingpin it where it's like, oh
really?
Their first run and I think also their second run end with big Doctor Doom stories, and like it is them trying to be like, look, Iron Man and Doctor Doom, like these two clearly are arch nemesis. And then it just didn't really take off in the same way as like the Kingpin thing. But
yeah, I can kind of see what they're talking about to some degree. And I can particularly see that if you don't think Tony Stark has a particularly strong rogues gallery. But the idea that Doctor Doom is all magic and Tony is all technology, and they both have a metal thing over their face, but one of them like is public and can take it off, and the other one doesn't want people to see his face, and like you can see the clear, kind of mirror in those characters.
Yeah, no, it is definitely there. My thing with Doctor Doom is I think he works for most of Marvel's heroes. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Like that's part of why he's the Marvel villain. Like, he is the best Marvel villain.
Yeah, and early on
Is
he
he just
shows
kinda
up in
works-
everybody's book.
Because he plays off of everyone perfectly. Like, it's like, oh, Black Panther. Like, you can balance them as world leaders, and how they look at ruling over their nation or whatever. Like, things like that. And obviously, like, him and Reed, I think, work best. But it is definitely there with him and Tony. Because it's there with him and so many Marvel heroes.
But the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I just thought it was really in a really interesting coincidence that he's gonna play Doctor Doom, and somebody was already talking about those two characters in connection with each other when the Iron Man movie is being made, like on the disc.
Well, not just
I just think that's so odd.
And not just that. I actually thought you were going to mention this too, which is that I forget if he was cast or they were just like heavily looking at him, but he was almost Doctor Doom in the 2000s, like early 2000s.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
In an SF film, I think before the Tim Story one. But yeah,
we might have talked about that somewhere, but I don't remember that. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the other thing I was going to say about it is I just wonder if that doesn't have anything to do with the casting. Because that always seems so left field and random and like grasping at straws, kind of desperate. And I'm not going to say it doesn't still read kind of desperate, but I just wonder if somebody wasn't thinking about that, or if that might not play into the story in some way, and if it might end up making more sense to us when we actually see it. I don't trust it. I'm not saying I do, but it's just interesting.
Before somebody mentions it, I just realized that I'm thinking of he was almost cast as Lex Luthor, not Doom.
Oh,
I got those conflated in my head.
I didn't know that either.
That's my bad.
They're basically the same character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Clearly.
Well, yeah, and with him playing Doom, like, if it wasn't for the Iron Man-ness of it all and just how weird that's going to be, I don't think he's necessarily a bad pick. Like, he's a good actor. I'm sure he can do it well. I just don't really trust it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't either. But I had never really thought about like how Doctor Doom works as an Iron Man villain, and you're absolutely right that he's a foil for everybody. But
yeah, and his stuff with Iron Man is really good. They do work off each other really well.
And I guess now that I'm thinking about this, I'm worried that they'll play this off way too cutesy and too on the nose. But the idea that a Doctor Doom that is played by Robert Downey and looks just like Iron Man rebuilds the universe in his image when Iron Man started the whole thing, and he's all about, arrogance and the world kind of revolves around him and all of that. Like, I'm sure they're thinking about all of that.
Maybe that's some of the stuff that makes me nervous. I'm like, if he's playing Doom, I want him to just be a voice, but they won't. I don't think
he will be. I think they will think it's poetic, and they'll.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
They'll drive that home real hard. Yeah, that's not me saying I think it'll work. I think that's what they're doing.
No, you're just saying it. Yeah, I mean, either way, like, it's fascinating, for better or worse.
And probably worse. But I don't mean to be a downer. Like, I hope it's good. I don't mean to be
Tyler Sayas,
Downer Jr.
Tyler Sayas and Robert Wild say that he was considered for Doom. So maybe I was just thinking that he was considered for both, and then second guessed myself.
Maybe you just got lucky and you dodged a bullet where you were thinking about the Lex Luthor thing, but it turns out that the thing you said was true, but you didn't actually know that.
Well, no, because I said the Doom thing. I was like, I'm pretty sure he was considered for Doom. And then I thought about it for a second more, and I was like, oh, I know he was considered for Lex. I must be conflating this. So then I second-guessed myself. But I guess he was considered for both.
Now that DC and Marvel are desperately playing ball together and making some comics together, there should be like a Superman versus Doom book. Like, that's also right there. Like, Superman hates magic.
You're gonna say we're gonna bring in Downey Lex Luthor versus Downey Doom?
Sure, let's do that. No, I'm talking about in comics.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Do that in comics. Just his likeness.
It's better than Batman and Deadpool.
Oh,
It's such a random pairing.
yeah. Well, and then when you read it, it's even worse. Hopefully, the DC one's better though. That hasn't come out yet. That's on its way.
Yeah,
That's about.
hopefully.
That might be this week. I'm not sure if that's about to happen.
Well, that's got the Doctor Strange Constantine one, and I think that's an interesting pairing.
Oh yeah, of course.
Or at least like a fun pairing.
It'll be 10 pages and won't get anything done, but it'll be
No,
there.
but it'll probably just be Constantine walks in and he's like, "Oh, your house is weird, strange," and then he leaves. That's probably how it'll be.
All right, let's go to Patreon mini reviews. I've got 4
I got
on
a
Patreon.
bunch.
Oh, do you really? How many?
9,
9.
7.
You start then.
From Grim, he says, "The last of the old breed and the first of the new. Iron Man manages to create
just
the
said
foundation
that.
carried." Yeah, no, you're right. Iron Man manages to create the foundation that carried the MCU until Avengers through sheer grit, charisma, and excitement. And he didn't give a rating, but I imagine he'd give it a villain based off of that review.
I forgot to make this point, and I'm surprised that this didn't come up between us at all, Austin. But just visually, it holds up remarkably well.
Yeah, this one I think is like kind of my favorite Iron Man visually, both in how it looks and just the sound design around the suit.
The sound
like,
design's
all
amazing.
of it together is so good.
And it remains
that's
really
kind of
cinematic.
my
Like
favorite.
it's a thing you kind of want to go back to the theater for. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like, it's kind of my favorite, like, Iron Man look.
Yeah, but also, there's not a lot that looks fake in it. Like, we talk about this all the time, but it's frustrating how lazy these things have gotten. And I get like people will always push back on me and be like, "Oh, Cap, all these visual effects artists, like they're killing themselves. They're not lazy." That's not what I mean. I mean like choices that the people in charge are making. That if they would be more creative and work harder, they wouldn't be putting those poor visual effects artists through what they're doing and still get bad, crappy looking product. Because some of it is just rushing people and putting things out before it's ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not lazy. Like, I don't think any of us are poor visual effects workers that are getting whipped at their desks and not allowed to leave. It is definitely more of the studio goes, just throw it off onto that side. They don't have a union. Like,
They'll
just
figure it
keep
out.
throwing it off to them. We don't have to pay them much. Exactly.
Yeah, and then
that's the lazy part.
Some of what you see, particularly in the later movies, it just looks like nobody really cares if it looks real or not. Where it's like it's just sort of a stand-in. It's representing it. This movie is trying so hard to make you believe everything to the point where you can't always tell what is practical and what is digital, and that's how digital effects should be as best as you can do it. Now, are there some ambitious things that are done in later Marvel movies where it's impossible not to have some amount of uncanny valley, where this is all like on the ground and we're not doing like space aliens and stuff? Yes, of course. But there's stuff that doesn't get too crazy and too far away from this, that doesn't look anything like as real as this does, and this was made 17 years ago.
Well, I just think Iron Man consistently looks good up until Age of Ultron, and then Age of Ultron forward, I have issues with effects on his suit through like each movie. Not like consistent, like the whole movie he looks bad, but like there will at least be moments in every film, starting with Age of Ultron, where I'm like, that doesn't look good.
But like this movie itself, there are places where you can kind of tell what's probably a digital effect, but like I'm not taken out anywhere, and I just think it's an important point to make. I don't think I can overstate it because it's almost 20 years old. And it doesn't have the crappy green screen thing that we always complain about with the Captain America and with Winter Soldier and with Black Panther and most of them.
Most of them, exactly.
Well, it's
because they went from improvising the dialogue to improvising the set dressing.
Oh yeah, sure. Now I will say, Bridges in the Ironmonger outfit at the end when the thing opens and he's sitting, that is a pretty obvious green screen. It doesn't help that I saw footage today of what that actually looks like with the green screen, but even before that, I thought it looked a little floaty, where it doesn't really look like he's in there.
So I don't have an issue with it, but like obviously I know that's how they did it. It doesn't visually take me out.
It's the best it could look, but it does look a little goofy to me.
Especially because it's like, you know, you look at that and then you look at like Ruffalo's head.
Oh God,
Hulkbuster, and it's
oh yeah.
like, oh, what are we doing?
But I'm just saying, like, you got less money. You're going by your bootstraps. You're making up stuff as you go along, and it looks more real than some of the like $200-300 million movies they made. I just that's all about grit and like I don't know, intent. Like, your intent is to make me believe it. I don't think that's always their intent later.
Well, it's part of just like, and it's why the first 3 Transformers movies still look so good. Is like they planned like every shot and was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Like, this is how it should look. This is like what the lighting should look like, so that it makes these effects look better, and like everything like that. And they don't do that anymore.
Well,
just go digitally add it.
Well, first of all, that first Transformers movie, especially, like, there's a lot of stuff I don't like about that movie, but oh my God, do those robot characters look believable? And I remember being in the theater going, it's like you took a year on every frame. I don't even know how you got this out into a movie theater. I couldn't even believe it. I've not gone back to it in a very long time. I don't know if it holds up the way it felt back then, but
yeah, no, those have aged like really well. It's kind of like the Pirates movies, where it's like,
oh yeah,
they just knew what they were doing, you know. Exactly. Robert says there's some bad CGI on Iron Man in the first Avengers. I had that a little bit more last time I rewatched it, like especially that part where he fights Thor and his helmet opens up, and I was like, oh yeah, that is just kind of a floating face.
But isn't it?
But not as much as I do later.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember any of that in Avengers, but we'll look for it when we eventually do that here. I think it's just ironic that so much of, again, the dialogue in this movie is improvised, but they have a plan and they know what they're making, and then you have a lot of these movies more recently that are fully scripted, but they're writing as they're making it. And, like, you can tell the difference. Also, somebody earlier, I think it was Robert, mentioned that, and I was going to say this too, that there have been reports with some of these that the third acts will dramatically change because of test screenings. Like, I'm telling you, they do them now. I'm pretty sure they do.
Like I said, I know they do them in-house, and like maybe they make exceptions, but I think for the most part they do them in-house. I'd have to look into it again, but that's what I've always heard.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I just think it's really strange that you would spend the kind of money you're spending to fully not just like shoot a thing, but get all the effects done. Maybe they don't always have all the effects done. I don't know. And then just show them in-house, and then in-house, when they all could have read the script and known where it was going, they go, oh, that's not working now that I'm seeing it. Like, I get that with some things, but it's dramatic how much money they leave on the table.
But I mean, also, like, they've kind of just always worked like this. Like, going all the way back, you know, to this movie, like, they have just kind of always, you know, flown by the seat of their pants. So, like, it doesn't really surprise me that you'd get to it now and it's like, yeah, this is, especially when, you know, you have, like, it's all kind of spread out more. So you probably do have Feige coming in and it's like, this doesn't look good. And he hasn't looked at it, like, before that, you know what I mean?
But a lot of it's not about what it looks like. A lot of it's about, like, compromising major story points to, like, make it more accessible to an audience and stuff.
But that's what I mean. Like, when I say, like, oh, that's what that looks like, I didn't mean visually. I meant just, like, for all I know, like, there's so many projects. Like, is he reading every script? Like, I don't know. Like, it's hard to say at this point. Like, it could just be like, oh, this is what we were making.
There's got to be a more efficient way to do that. I mean, it's preposterous that that's what they do.
But I have no idea. Like, maybe they've changed and they do more test screenings now. But I've always heard that they do like in-house. And by in-house too, it's not just like, it's also like they'll bring in like family and stuff, like people connected to the studio in some way.
Well, and somebody said it's like a linked thing where they don't want anybody to know that they do test screenings, but I don't know how true that is. Robert says Cap 4 was the big movie I remember hearing this too. We were hearing about having bad test screenings that made them change the movie dramatically. And then I guess the question is just who was watching the test screenings.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, I don't mean to belabor that. That was just a thing that came up earlier I meant to mention.
Yeah, no, it's all good. From Subject 87 says, a real good foundation for the MCU that made Iron Man a fan favorite. I miss the simplicity of this movie and think it's one of the best origin movies for a superhero. Rating superhero.
Daniel Davis says Jon Favreau's Iron Man is a miracle of a movie. It jump-started a cinematic universe that continues to this day. That is true. Made Robert Downey Jr. into one of the biggest movie stars of the 21st century. That is also true. And most of all, still holds up all these years later. Aside from the film's Bush-era approach to terrorism, there's nothing here that I found to be particularly egregious. Even the last act, which everybody seems to argue is the worst part of the film, I still think is a lot of fun. Legend. Yeah, I don't remember if at the time that stuff read too like on the nose and obvious and too like contemporary, but now
I think it just means going back, but I could be wrong.
Say again.
I said I feel like he maybe means like going back, like you go back to it and it's like, oh, this is very like of this period, because like a lot of things were like that at the time. But I'm just like reading into what he said.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is I don't know if that bugged me then. I think now, I don't know. Like I can see that. Like maybe that should bug me more. But it's kind of more just part of that trying to make it feel realistic thing, where it's like that's just what the world looks like right then. And
no, I just think it's interesting going from like the original, which is very like Vietnam, and like you move it forward, and it's like now it's very Bush America in the Middle East.
Yeah, it's hard to say where that line should be drawn, where it starts to look like preachy or just too on the nose or whatever. But you know what? It doesn't feel like. It doesn't feel like. The end of Dark Knight just suddenly out of nowhere complaining about wiretapping. Like it doesn't watch like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that I mentioned that when we talked about, because there's like a whole discussion about Dark Knight and Iron Man. Yeah, in the like post 9/11 thing, and I do think it is better in Iron Man. Like it feels more built into the overall movie.
There's at least somebody not like preaching directly at the screen about it.
Yes.
And nobody's directly name dropped or anything. Not that they are in Dark Knight, but like.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Anyway, you read another one.
Pepper's just like, Tony, I'm quitting unless mission accomplished. From Serial When Pigs Fly. I like Iron Man. It's not my favorite of the MCU, but is undeniably one of the most important films in superhero history. The biggest thing I can give this movie is how real it feels, the suit, the environments, and especially the characters. Rating hero.
Back Studios retroactively, I think I'd like this movie on its own more if it hadn't actually spawned a cinematic universe. That kind of speaks to some of what we were talking about earlier with character regression and stuff. But in the context of the MCU, it is a bit of an outlier that doesn't match the conventions this franchise would come to be known for, in all the good ways and all the bad. As a standalone origin film, it's one of the best, and as an MCU film, I feel like it fits comfortably in just the upper middle of them. This movie has always flip-flopped for me with every viewing I have, and my reaction to the bloated third act very much depends on my mood. For today, it's a hero. It sounds like he has the same thing that I have with Jim Carrey's The Cable Guy. Every time I watch that movie, I either love it or I hate it. The last time I watched it, I liked it okay, so if I watch it again tomorrow, I'm going to hate that movie. I just know it.
That reminds me, I forgot to mention, worst scene of this film is when, for no reason, Obadiah Stane goes to the medieval times, and he
It just seems very out of character when he's like.
and it's like, I get it, because setup and payoff, and that's where we set up you've upgraded, and for him to then pay off at the end of the movie, but still, it's just awkward. I don't know. It's forced. Connor Nielsen, he says,
I always fall asleep during that part. I never get there.
Exactly, it's weird. Well, and I guess like they're watching, people in armor fighting, like it's kind of relevant.
Oh, it's foreshadowing. It's setting it up even.
Exactly. Well, especially they're like, this is the Ironmonger of Knights.
Oh, sorry. Can I say this real quick? One of the lines that was in the ADR that they cut, that Favreau and everyone in that room started repeating and quoting, and then they went, "Yeah, we can't have this in the movie. Everyone's gonna be doing this." He goes up to Pepper when he's about to try to kill her, and he goes, "Pepper Potts." And then Favreau just starts going, "Pepper Potts." It's great.
It is great. Well, especially because the line he does have is great. But I thought you were going to say, he comes in and he goes, "I am Ironmonger."
I mean, it could have been like that. I wouldn't have put that past some of the dialogue that they cut. It was
that's beautiful. I have to look into that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Well, and he has something in the script apparently, because they got the script sitting there of like some of what they recorded, and they've already taken out. And one of them was something about like calling back to the thing he says, where it's like I would have preferred if she'd lived, and he says like, so like you're so beautiful, it's such a shame I have to kill you, or something like that. And like there's just some like really bad hammy lines there.
No, Iron Man like tackles him before he kills Pepper, and he goes, I would have preferred that she died."
Anyway, sorry, go ahead and read another one.
Connor Nielsen, an excellently paced action movie that serves as an origin story for an endlessly watchable, charming Robert Downey Jr. Giving it his all, Iron Man. Sorry, I like put a period because of the junior. There's a period on it, so I like stopped the sentence and made it awkward. Just a charming Robert Downey Jr. giving it his all. Iron Man builds its world and story effortlessly, and the breath of fresh air it represents in its era of wannabe fantasy epics can still be felt in its simple, character-focused narrative. The action sequences aren't as fun to watch as the characters, and the film's climax is much sloppier than the film it caps. Rating superhero.
Yeah, I do still have that a little bit. You definitely like the action of the climax more than I do. I kind of tune out at some of that. For some reason, I've always had that with it, where like I've always complained that it sort of degenerates into typical superhero fare, and I'm more laxed on that point now. I just don't love some of that action. I think is more of it.
Well, because we even have this with 2, where I like the drone stuff, and you don't like that stuff. So it's like, no, we definitely just have some of that. Like, I'm engaged more with that than you are.
Abilities, that's whatever.
Yeah.
But
no, I think his fight with Ironmonger is really fun.
Yeah, you just like any villain that goes around roaring like that. You need more villains in your life that go roar.
Well, it's because when people finally realize, that my villainy was in secret and I have to like fully reveal it, that's how I'm gonna be. I'm just gonna roar at everyone.
Yeah, that's what's so hilarious about that. He's supposed to be like this brilliant mass manipulator, and when he finally reveals himself, he's like as loud and over the top as possible. It's you know what he is? He's Jeff Loeb's Lex Luthor.
Well, I love that he's like having so much fun.
Like President Lex, who finally just puts on the robot suit and is like, "Fine, I'm evil. I'm gonna let everybody see it." Like it's exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. It's also really funny given that comic character, because he like kills himself at the end of that story. Like it's not like a big fight where Iron Man has to beat him. Like it's a whole thing. But
bring up your point real quick that we were talking about off camera about the oddness of Ironmonger, like as a name, and how it wasn't in the comics that much.
Oh, just that Obadiah Stane's the main villain of the Denny O'Neil run, but Ironmonger as a thing only exists in one issue. So it's just kind of interesting that that's the villain that they went with for the movie. And I didn't know this until Cap sent me a thing from that featurette, and then I looked into it a little bit more. But apparently his suit was called Crimson Dynamo through part of the production. And then they decided to go with like his actual moniker in the comics, which is Ironmonger. But that would have been really strange because of the whole weird Whiplash Crimson Dynamo thing in 2. So you almost have 2 movies with like weird naming conventions for the villains.
Yeah, and Ironmonger as a name just makes a lot more sense for what Obadiah Stane is. Like, obviously.
And it also doesn't really matter because it doesn't really come up.
No,
like it is true. One of those. They name drop it and that's it.
Yeah, no, that's true too. So I said this to you, but in a weird way, it's almost like the Zod thing, where it's like that was in like one obscure issue that like nobody knew about that became this big thing. This is a little different than that because at least the character was in a whole run.
Yeah. Well, like I said to you, like that run's basically like a precursor to Nightfall, which is really interesting. Where like it's Obadiah Stane like breaking Tony down, and then Rhodey takes over as Iron Man, and it's really cool.
Was that? Remind me. Was that 80s? Was that?
Yeah, that's directly after the Michelini run, so like Demon in a Bottle.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's 80s.
Cool. Why don't you read one?
Yeah.
Because I've only got one more.
Oh, yeah, and I got 3 more. Doolittle. He says, awesome movie. I really don't have too much to add, except I think Raymond Dejawadi's score is so underrated. I wish Driving with the Top Down caught on as Iron Man's signature theme, Raiding Hero.
Oh, Daniver says Zod was in a lot of issues before Superman 2. He says it's just that Jack Sir was the main Phantom Zone villain. I didn't realize. I thought Zod was like a really obscure, like 1 or 2 issue villain.
I thought he was like more obscure, but like more than like 1 or 2 issues, but like definitely like on the more obscure side. But I don't know like a ton about.
I've either heard that wrong or I haven't looked into it in so long that it's morphed into incorrect information in my brain. I've done this for too many years now.
You eventually in like 10 years you're like, yeah, Zod wasn't even a character in the comics. He was so obscure.
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna be like, Zod was in Action Comics #1.
Zod was Superman's original name.
He was Zod-El.
Exactly.
Oh, I actually have 2 more, sorry. Chewbacca's Lover, one of the better MCU films. It doesn't have the MCU humor that later movies will have. I didn't read this already, did I? I don't think I did.
Nope.
It is able to actually be serious. I wish the future MCU films felt like it. If you go back to it, it feels completely different. Hero. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I think the MCU humor does start here. It's just that because this is a very comedic movie, but
yeah,
I also see where he's coming from because it's not Whedon-y humor, which is more. I mean, there's bits of that here and there, but like really takes off in Avengers.
Yeah,
and then that's when it becomes. That's like the main kind of humor we can do.
But do you agree with the broader sentiment that you go back to this movie and it as a piece feels so different it almost doesn't match the rest of it?
To some degree. Yeah. I mean, you go back to this movie and there's like certain things past it where I'm like, I can't even like imagine this leads to that.
Yeah, certainly.
You know, it feels very different.
For whatever reason, I found myself on this viewing isolating it off real hard from the rest of the MCU and really taking it on as a piece, which I think is part of the reason that I couldn't stop thinking about Begins. Because I really have that with Begins. I watched that movie and I'm not thinking about the rest of that franchise. Like, it's just a singular self-contained piece. Like, I'm thinking about how the filmmakers are making it, not concerned at all with what might happen after it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never,
yeah, for sure.
And I hadn't really done that with Iron Man that much. Like I have what I think, more people have, which is like it's the start of this big franchise, and like how does it establish everything for that? And obviously that is in the back of my mind, but this
I
this
feel
viewing,
like
I was just thinking a lot more about the
compartmentalize it.
production, the singular production.
Yeah. No, I kind of compartmentalize it in my head where it's like there's Iron Man just as a film, there's the Iron Man trilogy as just 3 movies, there's that kind of real quadrilogy, if you will, with Avengers included, and then there's kind of everything after that, and it kind of separates in my brain into different segments that I can kind of look at it through.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Super Billy, who is now Thankful Turkey, because it's incorrect Thanksgiving this month. He says, one of the greatest and most revolutionary superhero films ever made. Every element works impeccably. Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark is the most pitch-perfect casting since Christopher Reeve in Superman 78. And the movie remains the best example of the formula it helped establish. I loved Iron Man since I watched the 90s animated series, and I'll always be grateful to this film for turning this great character into a household name and for finally giving us a superhero cinematic universe. Rating legendary.
Well, that's the other thing. Well, so our rating is legend. Legendary is like a film company. But
Oh, he's Barney Stinson.
oh, that's
It's
true.
legendary.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't say wait for it at any point.
Well, it does say it was edited. Maybe he went back and was like, no, just
He's like,
legendary.
that's a bridge too far.
It's a bridge too far.
That was a Jeff Bridges too far.
Exactly. There's a Bow Bridges too far.
But I was just gonna say, Robert Downey being so perfect for that role is one of the things that makes you think about Superman. Like it's a little different. Like people compare that all the time, where it's like that's the correct answer in the same way that Reeve was. The difference, of course, is that Robert Downey had already had a big career before that, and he wasn't exactly an unknown. Like it puts him much more on the map, and he's a bigger deal after this. But like Reeve was an unknown. And the second thing is, Reeve feels like Superman. Quintessential off the page the way we always sort of imagined him, sort of, at least I say always, at least contemporarily. Robert Downey is kind of that, but the character is reinvented to some degree.
It is a take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. 'Cause, yeah, I don't have that necessarily. Like, I'd be interested to see another actor play Iron Man, just to see how different it would be, and just to do some of the things that Downey's version didn't get to do. Like, I think it would be interesting to, especially just see them as different adaptations.
But it is undeniable how much that performance and that pick has to do with the success of it, and Reeve it's that with Superman.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I'm not denying that, and I'm also not being like, someone else needs to come in and play him because they can do it better. I just mean, like, it would be interesting to see a different take, because this is a take, and I think it's really good. Like,
yeah, and the other big difference to Superman is we've seen other people play him, and Iron Man we've never had that.
That's true. That's true.
We
got Ironheart.
We apparently will, but we haven't yet.
No, and I'm interested to see what that will look like.
Victor, an incredibly fun and charming movie that perfectly balances its tone in a way that most feature MCU movies don't manage to do. However, it's hard to ignore the jingoistic elements, good word choice, that make parts of this play out like a Vietnam-era John Wayne film, and I think the second half of the film is significantly weaker than the first. Interesting. Rating Hero. We've had several heroes in a row, and I'm on my end. I'm actually surprised by how low some of the ratings ended up at that.
Map at 68. One of Marvel's best, an excellently paced hero's journey. Rating superhero.
Is that all of yours, or did you have one more?
That's all of them.
Oh, cool. I thought you had another one. Well, it's time now then to go to our...
make sure I didn't skip one, but no, I think I got them.
Oh, no, you're good. I wasn't counting.
No, it's okay, but you made me second guess myself, where I'm like, I hope I hope I didn't do that.
I do that on purpose. It's fun.
Yeah. I'm just on a second guessing kind of night between that and Downey Doom.
Oh yeah. That's okay. Well, I'm having that with the whole third act thing with like is that the sacrifice play the way that Captain America talks about it? I've got to keep noodling that. I'm seeing both sides of that real hard right now.
No, that's fair.
Austin's like, you're an idiot, but it's fair. Austin!
No. No.
Oh, no. No, I know you well enough. I could read all the subtext. I see all the layers. There were like 4 layers in that.
Yeah, you're peeling back all of the layers of, this maroon.
I'm peeling them all back. I'm not paranoid, and I think that everyone's out to get me at all. Austin! What,
Yes.
how do you, I don't know what I'm doing. How do you...
You're trying to get me before I get you.
How do you... If you're not watching this video right now, we're pawing at the screen. I don't know why. Austin...
And if you are watching it, you are now stupider for having seen that. Anyways, what were you saying?
We apologize. What is your rating for this film? For
I'm going to give it a legend. I'm going to give it a legend. I think it's great. As I've said before, I think it's Marvel's equivalent to Superman the movie. I think it's both just a really dynamic film and just a great adaptation of Iron Man. And there's not really much I would change about it. Even, in terms of the third act, like I think it works well enough for me just on the fact that like I can see, Obadiah kind of gets revealed and is kind of backed into a corner, and then it turns into a really fun comic booky fight, and I enjoy that too. So yeah, like there's nothing I would really change about this movie. I think it's pretty well perfect.
Well, one way you could look at it is it starts in a more realistic place, and then it knows it's based on a comic, and so like it earns that stuff, like it's building to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Austin, back when I did the rewind on this, I only gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars. So guess what? I've upgraded my rating. I'm also gonna go legend.
Yes.
This is undeniably.
You're gonna have to invent a new above legend just for Iron Man 2 to be above the first movie. I don't even know how. You're gonna have to come up with something else. God tier.
Watch us get to Iron Man 2, and I legitimately decide that's a way better movie than I have thought it was for the last 10 years. Watch that happen.
Yeah.
Everything's a matter of perspective, and I'm worried I'm gonna overcompensate just based on how assembly line a lot of these things have gotten, and that movie still doesn't have that, even though it's got just confusing motivation issues and stuff. Even with that, I'm kind of concerned I'm going to go back to it and be like, I don't know what I'm talking about. This movie is better than that. We'll see what happens.
It's the best one.
So yeah, going back to this, I had obviously my little nitpicks and complaints. It's all small stuff, and the Obadiah thing isn't even a plot hole or a problem. It's just kind of more of a question of if it had gone the way I originally thought it was, would it not be just as effective? Could it not have worked out that way? And also, I was just missing some a plot point with the Middle East stuff, where I keep forgetting that they're just a terrorist group and that it's not. I'm so used to seeing 2 countries fighting in the Middle East. I just kept assuming that's what it was, and it's not that.
That's how you know it's super post 9/11. Is that
Right.
It's just here's this group that's in the Middle East somewhere, we don't really know where.
Well, maybe that's what he meant by post 9/11, where it's we're not as concerned anymore like we were for years and a decade after that conflict about terrorists, as much as we're concerned now about
countries again.
The big conflicts happening between two warring states that could set off World War III. Like that's more the worry and the rhetoric now.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe that's what he means.
Well,
Robert, we get it. Cap, you love Iron Man 2. I know. It's
brings it up every chance he gets.
It's like zombies. You know, I'm a closeted Iron Man 2 fan. Like, to the point where I reviewed it negatively. Just so that people didn't think that I liked it.
We're getting to a point where every time you bring up Iron Man 2 in my head, I just hear, oh ho, here she goes. Yeah, we're going there again.
There's a place, I know I keep talking about this, there's a place in that documentary where they on set have the first Mark III helmet, and it's not painted yet, it's just silver. And I kid you not, Favreau picks it up, and he says, do you think someone can get their head in that?
And then he turns to his assistant and goes, put your head in this.
And I'm not making this up as a joke. That happened. Like he actually did that. He picks it up. He's like, I just don't know if anybody can get their head in this.
That's wonderful because that means that is 100% just an in-joke from when they worked on that movie. It's the reason it's there. 100%. That makes it way better.
I don't think he can get his head in that. Okay, we're going to go to our rankings now. Do I usually start with you or myself? I can't even remember.
I feel like you normally start with you, but maybe you switch it up. I don't know.
Well, let's start with you this time.
Okie dokie.
Sorry, you're looking at a blank screen again, everybody. Let me get this fixed. Okay, Austin has Iron Man 3 at Iron Man 1 at number 3 right now. Just under Dr. Mordred, which I will still never understand why he has as high as he has. I mean, that movie's hilarious, but I don't get it. But you got it at number 3. Right under... or right above the Suicide Squad. Am I surprised you have that above the Suicide Squad? I guess I'm not.
I mean, I feel like that could go either way. Like, I feel like that might have been flipped on my top 100, but I don't remember. It could go either way. It really just depends on what kind of mood I'm.
And despite how different a lot of our rankings are, we both retain the same number 1 right now. We both have RoboCop at 1. And out of 52 of these, nothing has eclipsed it yet.
Yeah, because RoboCop's just a perfect movie.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there are any other movies that we would call perfect or nigh perfect that haven't gotten there yet. That are not Howard the Duck, okay?
But I mean, Howard the Duck could beat RoboCop, maybe.
Okay, we'll look at mine now. This could change because I'm back and forth on one movie with this, but I currently have it at the number 6 spot, and I'm pretty sure all of the movies above it I have called legends. So I have it right now under Mask of Zorro, but I'm having a hard time deciding if I want to put it above it or below it. And then Superman the movie...
It is hard, and they're very different.
Yeah, they are. It's tough. Superman the movie is at 3 right now, and in Captain America Civil War is at 4. And I can't always be perfectly consistent with this, but we did recently do our MCU ranking videos, and I had Civil War above Iron Man in that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I do think, even without that, I would have done that. But being honest, I think that's where it lands. So it can't go any higher than 5, but I think it might change to 5.
Oh, okay. I mean, either way, it's a good spot for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my top 10.
Yeah, Like I said, I could see an argument for. It's could go either way. That's another place where it's like, I could be in the mood for one more than the other, like just depending.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up Patreon names real quick. Well, Austin, I think the only thing that's left to do before I read Patreon names is to announce what we're doing on Friday. So we're gonna have two of these this week because we didn't get to this last Friday, and we're doing it right now. So we will have another one on Friday, and then we're gonna have a couple-week hiatus for the commentary project until next month. I'm taking Thanksgiving week off, which is in 2 weeks. I'm taking that week off completely to spend with my family, and then the week after we are doing a list video, and then the beginning of December, I think, tentatively, we're gonna finally get back to the Simpsons overviews, and that would take the place of this show. So it's maybe gonna be like a 3-week hiatus, and then we'd get back to Rewind after that. So I don't know what that review will be yet because we haven't even done the one for this Friday. But you get 2 this week, and then we'll be off for a little bit. But we'll have some other cool content, and we'll be starting our bottom 50 or least favorite superhero movies list in a couple of weeks in place of this show. So it'll still be the show. It just won't be a commentary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And now Austin's going to tell us what we're doing on Friday. Austin, I ordered the Steelbook.
Oh, that's beautiful. I can't wait to see it.
It's a cool cover.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. No, I haven't even seen what the design is for that, but I'm excited to see it. No, because last time on Rewind we did Dread, this time we did Iron Man, so it's like great movie, and we're just going to continue along with that. The next one that we're doing, don't laugh, it's true. The next one we're doing is Madam Web.
Yeah, I told Austin pick a theme for the movies we'll put on the poll, and he said, well, let's do recent ones. And Madam Web was one of his picks, and so immediately I knew that's what Patreon would choose, and that is indeed what Patreon chose.
I wasn't sure. I mean, I felt like it had a good chance. But what were your 2 again? I can't remember.
Well, I think I
know one of them was New Mutants.
You're forgetting about all the torture that people like me going through, though. As soon as you said
That's
Madam Web,
torture.
I was like, they're gonna. Well, for everyone that's not you, it is, and.
No, so on Discord, I did a watch party of Madam Web, and nobody else gelled with it except for Robert, who like fully was like, yes, this is wonderful, and everyone else was like, this sucks, like, like this is so boring, and Robert was just like, I get it, this is great.
I mean, that's one of those. There's maybe 2 ways to watch it. The movies where you can get to this so bad it's a good place. I did not get to that in the theater, but there were things that were funny to make fun of after the fact, but like the actual experience of watching it, I didn't have. And I'll admit, this may be the first time I'll have seen every frame of it, because I think I nodded off about 10 minutes toward the beginning.
You slept through the iconic Pepsi opening scene, and it ruined the movie for you.
I have had this with half of Sony's movies that don't have Spider-Man in them. Like, I slept through some 30% of Kraven, and I had to admit to that when we reviewed it, because we had to review it, and I was like, I didn't actually watch all of this movie. And then and I think I maybe did it with Venom: The Last Dance. I don't think I could get through that either.
Yeah, when I really hate the Sony villain movies, like even people are like, oh, Venom's kind of funny. I'm like, no, Venom sucks. Madam Web's the only one I think is genuinely amusing, and to me is the modern Howard the Duck. It's fantastic. I love it.
Wow.
And I've now seen it more than once.
And it is not technically in that line, I guess, because it's not. It doesn't count as in that continuity.
Oh yeah, I guess not. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remembered that, but I think they said technically it's not part of that. Which, like, who cares?
Well, I was forgetting that they were in a continuity.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that they are really, but you got the stupid lip service thing with Kraven where like Venom is mentioned, and that's about all that matters. I mean, that's about all that happens.
I didn't even know that. I haven't seen Kraven, so I didn't realize that they mentioned Venom in it.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Morbius does it. Don't you remember?
Yes.
Don't you remember this? That's what I was.
It was in
Sorry,
the trailer.
it was in the trailer where he's like, we are Venom or whatever.
Yeah,
To
'cause
try
he
to
goes, we are.
leave them.
He's like, we are Venom. LOL, JK, it's me, Dr. Morbius. It's like, okay.
Well, and then, and then that also had the really awkward Michael Keaton cameo.
Yeah, that's true too. The greatest post-credit scene of all time.
But then that doesn't even connect those movies to each other. It just connects it to MCU via multiverse. So,
But then Venom's like also weirdly connected through that,
Right.
so it's like it technically connects Venom. I don't know. It's a whole shenanigan.
they'll never make
Ugh.
another one, so it doesn't matter now.
Exactly.
There are mixed feelings about our doing that movie next in the comments, and by mixed I mean the people that are not excited are very not excited, and the people that are elated.
Robert.
Uh,
No, I think Daniverse
Daniverse.
is also happy. Yeah.
yeah, Robert, I think I have settled into Madam Web being the best of the Sony villain movies. Again, it technically isn't one of the, and the thing is, Madam Web's not even a villain.
No, but
Like
if
in
we
the
were to
comics?
look at all of them, it is the best of them.
Sure, but I mean, it's hard to call that a villain movie. She's not a villain. I don't know.
Well, the villain is Sony, just in general. So when you say Sony villain movie, you're really just being redundant.
That's true. That's true. That's repetitive. We were all moved in the wrong direction. It turns out when they told
We're
us
all
to be
moved to the exit.
The movie that we did a commentary on tonight was only 2 hours, but regardless of that, we've had a 3.5 hour stream. I don't even know how that works out. But everybody, thanks a lot for watching. We appreciate it, and we hope that you will join us on Friday for Madam Web. Jason is going to try to be with us on that. He also has the thing you have with that movie.
It's so good. We should all bring Pepsis to the show with us and struggle to open them through the entire commentary.
I do think the way she's just blind at the end is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in anything.
It's fantastic. And then we just cut to a shot from Spider-Man 2.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they just for some reason they cut to a shot from Spider-Man 2.
I don't remember that.
Or maybe it's the first one. It's one of them. It's like the shot going up at the building. It's taken directly from at least one of the first two Raimi movies.
I missed that.
Yeah, and it's
I don't think I
why
was
this-
asleep at that point, though. I think I saw that whole scene.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, I'm
It's
going
a
to...
stupid thing.
As always, thanks to all of our patrons, but especially the Patreon producers. That's at the $10 tier or higher, and I'm going to read everybody's names dramatically right now, as I always do at the end of the show. Thanks, everybody, for watching and for helping us out with the show tonight, especially Super Chatters, and especially that insane $50 Super Chat from, I just had it,
Matthew Bass.
thank you. So appreciate you guys, including, but not limited to, Jesse Surtees, Jojira, Chewbacca's Lover, Bag Studios, Victor, Super Billy, Elliot Slater, Dr. Hello, Goofster123, Joe Turner, Slip Maker, Killer Moth Returns, ! Matthew Brody, Apic Stark, Kareem Roberts, Damon Bugay, Adam March, Cereal When Pigs Fly, Hot Soup, Michael Martin, Kate Blaze, and the Captain Coon. You guys are great. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again real soon. Robert says Madam Web is on Netflix. So if anybody
That
doesn't...
makes sense. Sony did that big deal with Netflix.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yep.
So if anybody doesn't want to spend their hard-earned capital on Austin's favorite superhero movie in 10 years, there's a place that you can watch it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, you're gonna make a big deal out of my apparent undying love from Iron Man 2, which I didn't know I had, and then you're gonna talk about how great Madam Web is. I'm going to play up how much you like that movie even more than you do, because I'm not as far off as you are the other way.
No, genuinely, because I saw it after we did it, it would have made my top 100 if I'd seen it beforehand. That movie is beautiful.
And see, it could make my bottom 50, but I just don't know yet.
Mm-hmm. No, I do love it. Like I said, I've seen it more than once, and I would be willing to watch it again. And when I watched it, I did it as a double, watched it again, I did it as a double feature of Howard the Duck and Madam Web, because I was like, that's just the way you watch it.
Okay, that probably watches better that way. Yeah, it puts you in the mode for that. Because you're right, it is. That's the sort of movie it is. Like I don't know what that description is, but that's what it is.
Well, that's what's so baffling is I never thought we would see another Howard the Duck, and then we got one, and we will probably never get one again. But I am forever grateful. I wish that we could have a movie where they combined and became a couple, because they'd be a power couple.
Oh my god! All right, that's a middle picture I didn't need. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again next time. Just a few days. If you could stomach more of this week. I was Captain Logan. This was Austin. The day goes.
Yeah, I've seen the future, and we're gonna watch Madam Web, and we're gonna watch it twice.
Oh no, that's the double feature. Okay.
It's Madam Web and Madam Web.
Bye, everybody.